I'm coming for you, werewolf.
Good evening. How's everybody doing tonight?
I'm
We're gonna
coming
rock
for
and
you.
roll.
The rock and roll werewolf, baby. One of the coolest in the land. I'm coming for you. Can I? Hey, hang on. It doesn't reach that far. Yes. And you can see I have splatter all over my crusty tool. I almost feel like it all fell out on. It's probably all on the floor. Oh my
That's funny.
gosh. Well. I will take a guess, Matthew. I'm going to go on the under 3 minutes on how long these masks last on us. I'm going to take the under. I am Pop Voorhees, and he is.
Oh, I didn't come up with a name.
Wolf.
Just
Wolf Nester.
Wolf Nester.
Oh my gosh. So 3-star draw already says, did Matthew surf on top of a box truck today? That was going to be one of my questions.
Well, you know.
Oh my
Gotta play
gosh.
basketball, surf some box trucks, you know. Just a regular day.
We try to keep our werewolves out of harm's way on this show. As you can see, I went out of my way to craft this mask, and I worked really hard, slaved over, I can say that, right? I slaved over a plastic pit at the Hasbro factory, crafting this. It took me almost as long as it's going to take our pre-orders to come out. Oh, hello. Oh no, bringing up some bad memories here. Bad juju. All right, are you wanting to get free? Are you wanting to get free of the mask? What do you think? You feel, as long as you want to keep it on, I'll try to match you.
Let's let some more people roll in.
Yeah. That sounds good to me. Okay, so yes, maybe y'all noticed the new intro. Tried to come up with a little something fun. The comic strip intro I thought was apropos, and so may tweak it a little bit here or there, but worked on that for a little bit. So I wanted to at least stay true to my word and get us a different intro for this show.
I like that one.
Yeah.
Helen Mad Mamu. And actually, White Wolf back in the day had a game called Werewolf the Apocalypse. And one of the characters in Werewolf the Apocalypse was a character named Mamu, who was a big feral werewolf.
It's perfect. It's perfect. Let's see who else is rolling in. First in the door, Shane. Same time toys, passing in and out of consciousness. Pulled an all dayer. Replay squad. I appreciate you rolling in and posting a comment for sure.
Yeah.
Francie Brady. Yo, sup, Matt, Pop, Shane. Which I guess he's probably deep in slumber at this point. Like I said, 3-star draw. Early in the door. Let's go, you spooky space kooks. Something like that.
Space Kook is one of the best, man.
Got the munchies? Love the name. I love that name. And love the opener. Thank you very much. Try to keep it upbeat and fun. Fried taters. I'm all about some fried taters. Don't get me started. I won't be able to fit into this coat if I eat some more of them. Clint Jorgensen stopping in. Sadly, Matthew has lost his cowboy hat. Tim McGraw fans wallow in self-martyrdom. Oh, gosh. That's pretty good. You have to admit. That's good. It is the one thing about this show is that we both have hats on. I'm not saying it's our claim to fame by any means, but people notice. And so I'll keep it on, and it looks like you might be. There you go.
Doesn't quite work.
You have to put over one ear. Dude, that looks awesome. Oh my God, that looks awesome.
There you go. There's a hat.
everything, man. Oh my gosh. And the Snake Eyes hoodie.
That's
The
right.
it's that's freaking awesome. Oh my god. Oh no. Let's just take a minute. Oh, oh my goodness. All right, all right. So of course, another Tuesday night, or should I say Bloods Day night. See how many of those I can come up with.
Wah, wah, wah.
But anyway, so another week has gone by. Again, it is a God, that looks good. It's American Werewolf in London-ish, Howling-ish.
It's more
Almost.
howling, yeah, I
It
would say
is more
howling.
howling, isn't it?
Yeah.
Which may or may not have made my list, but a movie I definitely remember as a kid
Oh, yeah,
being,
I love that movie.
especially the effects, back at a
Yeah,
time when effects, creators were
yeah,
in high demand, right? And and we got a lot of great stuff from that time period, whether it was in fantasy, whether it was in sci-fi, whether it was in horror, but especially horror. It really gave people a chance to stretch their legs and their creative minds when it came to creature creation and stuff like that. I remember going to my cousin's, and he had Fangoria
oh, yeah.
magazine,
Yeah, that
and
magazine's awesome.
man, and they had so many articles, and you could see how they made stuff, or they would show you maybe a new movie coming out, and they would show the puppets and the creatures and maybe who made them and stuff like that. And it was so freaking awesome to go through that
Yeah,
magazine. He had a
th
bunch of them.
they got into a lot of detail about everything, and it was a great magazine to nerd out on for sure.
Oh, oh, definitely. Definitely. And he said, "Love me some Fangoria," showed all the practical effects.
Yeah.
And also, listen, as a guy, as a young man, yes, Fangoria would put in some photographs of the leading ladies in some of those horror
Yep.
movies, maybe in different states of undress. I'm not gonna lie. That was another perk of reading that magazine. um, but anyway, so 'tis the time of year. It is Halloween's a couple days away. Obviously, we're gonna give our top 5 horror movies, and you know, Matthew, I don't know how you approached it. I don't mind giving people a little bit, idea how I went about doing it. Is that, some of these were ones that were memorable to me as a
Mm,
kid that kind of shaped uh, the way that I, in real life, thought about things.
yeah,
And I'd say some of these things I'm going to bring up, some people are probably going to be like, oh yeah, that's exactly what it did for me.
yeah.
And so some of these that I chose are like that. Some of them I chose because they were seminal movies that really either started or did a number on the genre, or but maybe weren't the most technically sound, or maybe weren't so, as we get advanced with CG and all that stuff, I think our horror movies in a way have gotten worse, but in other ways filming has gotten better.
Oh,
The
yeah,
way that you're able to film is
yep.
has gotten much better than back in the day. And real quick, Tony's Figs, what's up,
What's up,
nerds?
Tony?
What's up, you nerds? I'm coming for you, Tony, on the West Coast. I just got to walk 5,000 miles, or
Half it out,
3,000 in
Tony, or the
America.
Wolfman's gonna come and get you.
Wolfman Jack,
Wolfman Jack is on the way.
bringing the midnight special. Oh, God. That hurts. Oh, my gosh. Anyway, so usually I'll throw the banner up, little
Yeah,
what's up
well,
chat.
we were talking about that, and my selection's always hard. It's a challenge
Yes.
because I, there's a whole swath different genres. I always have a hard time picking top movies, and so then I went with which ones have such a an effect on me, like you were saying, And I go back and forth between a lot of them because I absolutely love my werewolf movies. They are the tops for me. But
obviously.
there's not one werewolf movie on my list tonight.
See, that's interesting, and I was actually wondering about that earlier as I was kind of going through mine, and I was thinking about you. And last week, we kind of did ones that we like to put on during Halloween.
Yep.
Maybe they get you in the mood for Halloween or whatever. Some of them, it could be something that's lighthearted and kind of fun, a Charlie
Right.
Brown or a Hocus Pocus or something,
Right.
stuff like that. And so I did not really, I guess, bring up any of those. But yeah, for the season, sometimes you get the ones that are a little bit of a comedy. There are certain ones that in the horror genre that are they're horror, but they're not really that horrific. I
Right.
want to say, even Friday the 13th, right? Like the first one, there it's the editing, it's some of it's very uneven and pacing and stuff like that. And so yeah, so it'd be interesting to see which ones you bring up. I have one that I think you're gonna bring up, I think, but I'm not sure. But I'm gonna reserve it for later. Wraith Mace is here also. The Hammer, he's not only the one and only hammer, he brings the hammer for everybody else to get their hands on and use. That sounded really dirty.
What's up, my brother Wraith Mace? Listening in
um,
from way out
and
there.
one of my favorite people, Burner Phone 615. Now that's a new name for you, but it is one that I
I've seen it.
recognize and that
I've
I
seen it before.
appreciate. And I love me some Burner Phone 615, and I'm actually glad he's here to hang out for a little while and listen to us ramble for a bit. Um, Bobby Wold is in the house. There was one me and my family watched last year called Benny Loves You. It reminds me a little bit of Simon Pegg's Shaun of the Dead, kind of a horror comedy. I haven't heard of that one. Benny Loves You. Have you heard of
Yeah.
that one?
No, I haven't.
I'm shocked I'm shocked you haven't, to be quite honest with you. But I haven't either. But maybe I'll type it up, look it up here in a minute, and maybe we
Yeah.
can just kind of comment on it. But yeah, that's so even three
Pretty
star.
starstruck, yeah.
He's heard about it too. So that's a new one for me. Some of mine are classic. Some of mine you might yawn at. I don't know. We'll see. But we grabbed five apiece, right? Um,
Ish.
ish, right? You always have your honorable mentions and
Yeah.
this and that. All right. So look. Um, Before we get into it, I did want to bring up the Toys for Tots Streamathon,
Yep.
and I wanted to kind of get those numbers that the final tally, and I'm going to bring this up on the screen real quick. Um, There we go. All right. So obviously everybody here I know was involved in some shape, form, or fashion, whether donating, whether watching, being on the show, right, being on the stream. All these folks right here, our Australian friends,
Yeah, they were
and
great.
uh, and so I had a busy dad weekend. And
So did
so
I.
yeah, you really did, and yet you still were able to fit in and get on there. Every time I wanted to, real quick, I'll tell you, every time I wanted to either try to jump in, number one, I didn't realize there was a buffer
Mm,
between the guests so that maybe somebody could get on,
mhm.
and just hang out for a little while. So I didn't realize that until a little bit into it on Saturday, I believe. And then every kind of time I wanted to, we were in the middle of either watching a movie, shopping, or hanging out basically. And so I super chatted, a couple times and whatnot to at least support the stream. But I wish I had been able to maybe jump on and hang out, just shoot the bull and everything. But it looked like everybody had a great time. So you participated quite heavily. You did a lot of effort in your own time behind the scenes. And so, how much money? I guess let's say before YouTube takes their cut, how much money was it
Well,
able
I,
to
I
raise?
I don't know those totals, but I have the the total that will be donated and then matched by
Okay.
Sergeant Reds is was just under 3,000, and then Punk's going to round it up to $3,000.
Wow.
So
Holy
you know,
moly.
he's putting his 2 cents in and making that up there, and then Sergeant Reds will match that, and then they're going to buy some toys at wholesale to put in there and give to Sergeant Larry Bogus and his crew and get them distributed to those kiddos. So
Um,
it was, it
that's
was a
awesome.
it was a great time. You know, everybody helping out was awesome. The Australians came in clutch in the middle of the night where I could get some sleep, and that was a funny stream. And
I
then
kind of go ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
yeah, no, it was good popping in and out when I could in between everything else I was doing.
I wish, especially with those guys in the middle of the night, so often I wake up now and we'll stay up for an hour here or there and just kind of look for something to do and then go back to sleep. It's just what happens when you get old enough. And I was kind of thinking maybe I'd be up when they were on, but I actually slept like a baby for once. I've had neck problems here recently
Oh
and
no.
and some other stuff, and which you know about. I text you about that, and so anyway, and so yeah, I know I've gone back and rewatched several different portions and seen different people on there, and so yeah, man, it looked like a really good time. I was watching a lot of it with the sound down,
Yeah.
and that's really difficult. I had the captions on, but it doesn't doesn't really work on a live. It's just so I would check in periodically, here and there and turn it up for a minute and
Yeah,
here
I
and
was
there.
I
But
was behind the scenes trying to run calculations the whole time too,
yeah,
so that
right.
to keep people updated. That's something that we need to work on for next year because
Yeah,
you can get a ticker and it'll
right.
start calculating things. And I was trying to get Punk to do that, so I said if he's not going to do it, then I'm going to do it. And went through because I know it's important to keep people updated as to where we're at with things, so
Yes.
they know that stuff is happening, and then people get
Yes.
pumped about that kind of stuff. And and then just Jeff shaves his head on stream for because people donated $100.
Right. Well, about this time of year, well, they're no longer anymore. Game Informer was one of the big video game companies, magazines that
Yeah.
have been around forever, and they did a stream every year.
Hmm.
And I used to love watching it. For the last 7 years, I would watch it, and guys would shave their head or they would do silly stuff, and
Right.
and they had a ticker, right, a counter, and all that stuff, and obviously a lot more people watching, is a bigger audience, so to speak.
Yeah.
Uh, but at the same time, for this community and people to come in and donate and super chats, super stickers, and you name it, and so to raise that kind of money is freaking awesome, and it probably is going to be more next year. And as
Yeah.
you learn the different things to do to make it better and more streamlined and all that kind of stuff.
So yeah, the biggest obstacle we had was that Punk's channel isn't large enough to have a partner brand,
Yeah,
um,
yeah.
and you have to have 10,000 subscribers to be able to actually host a YouTube charity stream, and it has to
Okay.
be on the approved list, and also and Toys for Tots would be on that list. But once we got approval for it, and he had 10,000 subs, and a couple other things in place, then YouTube does not take a cut of that.
Okay. All right.
And
I
and
get it.
so that way it would be just a cleaner just transfer in there, and everybody gets receipts for it for write-offs and all that kind of stuff. So it
Yeah.
makes it a lot easier for people to donate. So if we can get that going by next year, I think it'll be huge for sure.
Well, burner phone 615 says, Pop Blender, how do we help? So it was a stream that was this past weekend. It was a 36-hour stream from Friday at noon to 12 a.m. on Sunday morning, I guess you could say.
That's officially, but
It did
actually
go, yeah, it did go a little
it
longer, right?
ended at 3 a.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Okay. So a few more hours. And I remember hearing that. I know when you guys were all on and it was all filled up, there was 10 spaces and it was kind of
Oh yeah.
clubhouse and
Yep.
everybody was on there. I at that point I was still up and I did want to jump in, but um it was kind of all filled up at that point, right?
Yep. Yep.
And so I just kind of listened, for the rest of it that night. But yeah, burner phone, I don't.
So I think the best way that you can help out now is find a local Toys for Tots donation place and donate directly. They prefer new toys. I mean, they won't take anything
Yeah,
that's open, but also a new toy to donate. Um,
right.
and that would be one of the greatest ways to help out if you can. The charity stream is over for now, and Punk is tallying and gathering stuff up. Um, I don't know that he wants his PayPal to be continuing flooded in with stuff like that.
Yeah, no, and then trying to, do addition,
Right,
and whatever. But obviously, yeah, I mean, there's ways to do that, but at some point in time, you do have to cut
right,
the stream off.
yep,
Um, Tony's Fig says, let's hit that thumb, the like thumb to help the channel peeps. Yes, always helps, most definitely. Um, thank you, Tony.
Stress that like button, folks, so we can get more views. Come on.
See, that's the thing. Like Jason Voorhees is a silent antagonist. It's like I can't add to that. I just have to sit here and go rawr, rawr.
I mean, that's why Freddy Krueger's better, right? Because Freddy
Oh,
Krueger can
holy shit,
antagonize everybody.
Matthew! I just had deja vu. Holy crap!
There it is,
I
man.
I dreamt this like a week ago. Literally, I dreamt me going this and you saying what you said. Holy crap. Yeah,
Nice.
yes, that happened in a different timeline. We're
Yep.
not talking about Marvel either, but we will in a minute. Okay, so look, this mask, I got this thing pressing against my
Yeah,
forehead,
yeah.
and it is
I was wanting the Australians to pop in before we
I
did, but
I was hoping, and look, if they do,
and
I'll
go
be
back.
glad to put this back on. You know what I mean? But I'm gonna wait. Holy
There's
moly!
Sherlock.
Yeah, Sharlock's in the house. Yeah, I wanted to give it time,
Yep.
but yeah, there's this little I don't know what the hell it is, but whatever it is, I think it's like it's not a smooth plastic. It's like a torture device, actually.
Yeah.
And Tony's Fix says that's one ugly mask, Matson. Yeah, I love it. I love it. And he asked me earlier. He said, sunglasses or no sunglasses. I'm like, no, you got to go sunglasses, baby. That's just how it is,
Wolfman Jack.
right? Uh, so uh, so we got a couple things to get into. Quickly, we'll get into the Pulse pre-orders. I'm gonna have to take this thing off for a minute, only
Yeah, yeah.
because
No, that's good.
whatever this piece is absolutely destroying my forehead.
Yep. No, I got
I
it.
what the hell it is. But if our Australian friends do show up, I will promise them I'll put this back on. Holy cow. Whew, Lord have mercy. All right. It's just how Jason did it for 12 movies. I just don't know. That guy's a superstar. Let me tell you. Holy moly. Hang on. Got to undo the jacket. I don't have a worker's coveralls, I just don't have those on hand. It's, it's just not something I keep hanging up. All right. Let me see. Let me hang up the mask somewhere. We'll put you right over Destro. All right. So good so far. All right. So anyway, so let's get into it, man. We got a few things to bring up. I knew it was going to be an easy breezy cover girl kind of kind of stream tonight. You've been busy, I've been busy, but we got some news and a few things to bring up, and I want to get our chat's opinion for sure on on a few things. And real quick, Clint
Uh,
Jorgensen says, so of course, the day after Punk gets all the super chats, Google reports 15% increases in year-over-year revenue. Not a coincidence.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and then some jerk off struck his channel on Monday.
Yeah, so I saw that. I thought about bringing it up. I just saw it on Instagram as I
Yeah,
went through.
I'm not going to
Um,
go into it too much. He's
yeah,
fighting it because it's bullshit.
it
The
yeah, it
the
looks like bullshit.
well, no, I mean, the guy is claiming that he's trying to strike the entire stream, right? And you can't do that unless there's
No.
something in every frame of that is yours. And then he's claiming Monster Force art that's his, and
Yes.
the owner of Monster Force says, "I don't know who that is. We didn't do that. This is not us." And
No, it has
so
nothing to do with Fresh Monkey Fiction, right?
nothing to do with Fresh Monkey Fiction, nothing to do with
Right.
Monster Force. So this guy's a straight up liar. And I hope Punk gets his vindication for it, but unfortunately, the strike thing is there's no recourse for a chronic flaggers, essentially.
It's one of the things that YouTube has been dealing with for a long time. It will continue to go on until there's a better system in place to stop people from falsely claiming
Yep.
videos, taking all your revenue, or
Yep.
stopping you, or putting a strike. I mean,
Yep.
this is an actual strike. A lot of
Mhm.
people don't understand the difference between like a copyright claim
Yep.
and a strike. Somebody puts a claim. It's like when I show too much of a Disney Plus show and they put a claim on my video and they say, hey, look, you either need to cut this out of your video and re-edit it, re-upload it, or cut it out and whatever, and we'll drop the claim. Or you can give us all your monetization,
Yep.
which I don't have, but for people that have channels that are monetized, that is a big deal.
Yep.
And sometimes that's also bogus too, right? You're
Yep.
talking over it, you're transforming the content, and you're making it something different, which is what YouTube's guidelines are. That's their terms of service. If the content you're making is transformative in some way, and you're not just sitting there watching a show, watching a movie, then yeah, they're not gonna go after you, but some companies do, and in this case, some individuals do as well, and it's in bad faith. We know
Yep.
it's in bad faith. We know that what he does or reviews or whatever is not done with any malicious intent.
Well,
It's not taking
not
over on
not only
anybody.
that, he's only showing what's publicly facing, so it's public
Yes,
material. He's not showing
right,
prioritized information or product or art or anything that is privatized.
right,
And if he does, it's because he has that creator on and they're talking about it on a Thursday with a friend or something like that. So
correct.
yeah, there's no reason for this kind of behavior except for those who are attacking him because that's what's his name said about him and lied about him then, and he's got a bunch of sycophants that follow him no matter what he says, even though he's lying through his teeth. So
Yeah, yeah, it's and all one has to do is just look that up, go to Instagram. Punk posted the YouTube, you know, information that
yeah,
they obviously sent to him, and there's plenty of comments on there for sure. And so obviously, you can check that out. But yeah, it's bogus, 100%. And this David Williams character, whoever that is,
I didn't even want to say his name.
I mean, look, no, but I mean, look, no,
don't don't
it's not even a real name.
well,
You know,
I will tell you at a quick Google search, there are 3 David Williams that are in our circles. So,
okay, that's interesting.
yeah,
Well, I will tell you this, uh, the
maybe
chances
more.
of him landing in here,
Yeah,
we'll see, but
yeah,
look,
no.
I mean, either way, we know what's up, so he'll fight that and probably get that overturned, I would
Yep.
assume.
Yeah,
Um,
and it's he's also showing what the process is live in
yeah,
front of everyone,
yeah,
being
right.
transparent, showing exactly what that other guy didn't do.
So
And
that's crucial. That's
yep,
crucial, showing receipts, right?
yep,
Like that's a big part of it. It's a big deal. No matter what it is, no matter what the thing is, whether that's a copyright claim or strike or whatever, whether it's, on Instagram, whatever it is, like, right, is if you show everything, and he's done that time and
yep,
time again, right? And so So yeah, that's as long as you have those receipts and you show the whole process, and you can also educate other people to the process who may encounter that at some time. Crusty Old Crow is dropping in here real quick too.
Good to
Just
see you,
checking,
man.
land on the like button, and it is always good to see the Crow Man. Todd C, what's up? Um,
And I encourage you guys, later on or whatever, go back and watch the beginning of the stream with us wearing our costumes.
yes, yeah, you jump back and then do a 2 times back forward,
There you
right?
go. Yeah, that's what I do
Um,
all the time.
Matthew found his hat. Yeah. What is that? Clint says, good news. Matthew found his hat. Sadly, the creator of his wolf mask is issuing a copyright strike on his stream. Oh, no.
Oh
No.
no!
I hope that the 15 different people that own the rights to Friday the 13th don't try to strike this, because that's the reason
That's a
why
mess.
you can't get video games and
Yeah.
there's other things. And it's like 3 or 4 different people that all are claiming the rights to Friday
Well,
the 13th or Jason's likeness or you name it, man. It's crazy.
and that goes on with everything these days, right? Like
It
that's
does.
been one of the big things that's stopped a lot of Frazetta merchandise from coming out is how the rights are divided. But now more and more stuff is coming out as they figured out a way around it or whatever. I
Yeah.
don't know, but
Yeah.
you've got 3 factions of Frazettas putting stuff out.
Oh yeah, yeah. You and I kind of talked about that a little bit a while back. So let's get into it real quick. We don't want to spend too much time on this. Obviously, Nemesis Immortal went on for pre-sale on
No,
yesterday.
no, 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 no. He went up for sale yesterday.
Well,
He,
yes, that's true. He went up for sale. That wasn't a pre-order, which
yep,
I did not actually know.
yep.
I know, 3 Star Draw. I've been saying for a while that he's in stock and ready to go,
Well,
and
and I with the people that I know that have him in hand and have the full packaging deal, and they've
uh
showed all that, I figured that he was going to be in stock,
so
and
so
not a pre-order, especially with the way they were promoting it too.
So real quick, if War Chest Full of Toys is listening, I want him to know that he can order this guy, right? Well, no, you can't.
You
So
can't.
see,
No, he sold
okay.
out.
So here's the deal, and this is what bothers me. And me and 3 Star had this conversation. I also talked to War Chest earlier. So he missed out on this on Nemesis. Now these two, here, okay, whatever. I don't think you're gonna miss out. Um, really, especially heavy duty.
I
But
honestly I don't think you're going to miss out on Nemesis
I
Immortal
don't
either.
I don't either, and I didn't get a chance to really go into that with him. But it is one of those things that does bother me when you bring this page up and it says in stock and you have the green button, you have the green light there, right? And you're like, oh hell yeah. And then you click on it and then it goes to still green
Yep.
in stock, sold out. So I'm guessing that tells me, hey, look, there's more on the way.
Oh yeah.
But here's the problem with that, Matthew, and it does bring into question why do they do it this way?
Okay,
Like
I will answer
why?
that. It's simple. It's
Okay,
very simple. Okay. It's called FOMO.
yeah,
And honestly, Nemesis Immortal was up there for approximately 3 hours before he sold out, which is like the longest lasting Joe in stock sale that they've had. Everything else is sold out within a few minutes to an hour at most, right? But this is the same thing. Okay, so Mythic Legions does this, right? And they do it with their figure obscurus, right? They give you a hint, and then they tell you the date that it's coming, and then that Saturday you've got 2 windows. If you get there in the morning, you order it, it will sell out,
okay,
and then in the evening they'll open it up again, and it will sell out. And then depending on how many they have left over, they'll do one the following week. They'll put them up again, or the next day. Sometimes they'll put them up again. So if they have like a lot, they'll do it on Sunday also. And if they have still a ton, then the following week they'll put up leftover stock that they're not going to take to conventions for the next year. And they plan to take a portion of them to conventions with them so that they can sell them direct to customers that come visit them to reward the people that are coming out to the shows. So there are portions allocated to all these different sections. And now Hasbro doesn't do shows, so they don't have that part of it. But I will tell you that every single exclusive, every single one, has gone up 3 times.
okay.
So every exclusive, they've had 3 different batches or 3 different sellout timeframes for all of them.
Okay.
Okay, so even 00 Deluxe Snake Eyes, because I got him on the second release of it.
Yeah, I'm still missing that guy.
Honestly, it's an amazing figure, and
I
it
know
was
it
tight.
is.
It had everything in it. It was really cool. But
Right.
the only thing I did to him was I painted his grenades green, but that's it. Um, but so it is this idea of it's a limited time thing. There's only so many out there. How fast did it sell out? Oh, okay. Well, keep an eye out. It may come back. Yeah, it will come back, and then you'll have a limited time for that one. And then the third time, whenever that's going to be, it'll happen again. They did it with Mindbender. They did it with Serpentor. They did it with Deluxe Zartan. They did it with Snake Supreme Cobra Commander. They did it with Snake Eyes. They didn't really have to do it with the Crimson pack and Chuckles, because those actually probably didn't sell real well, because they put the Crimson Trio up on sale not too long ago.
Yeah, it's like I understand. I guess the thing of it is that not everybody is able to be on top of it as soon as that comes up. And so then you're talking about, so are you supposed to, check back every 10 minutes? I mean, literally, like, in some cases, for some people. And then, I will tell you, Hasbro themselves are not very good, because I know there's times things have gone up and I've gotten a text message because I have notifications from them, and it's like 12 minutes after something goes live. And then it says, here's your chance. And for some people, for some things, 12 minutes is 12 minutes too late.
I figured it out. You had this tinny thing going on, and your shared screen was sharing audio as well, so it was picking up your audio and echoing a bit.
Really?
It created this high pitched tinging thing in my ear. I'm like, what is that? Is that his
Shared
microphone?
screen?
So I just muted it. I just muted the shared screen, and it took it away. So
Oh, okay. That's interesting. Yeah. I mean, I couldn't hear anything on my end. But yeah, no, I just think that it's a thing, like, as a lot of people are saying here, like, weaponized FOMO. FOMO's a blood type now. And I love this from Charlotte, because this is true to an extent. They go down for an upgrade, come back and suck more than before with the website. Yeah, it's
did you see the notification at the top of your app? Because if you log into your app, at the very top of it, as soon as you log
oh,
into it, it has a button that says, please check for updates to make sure that
and
you're
it's still there.
yeah.
And I still have at the top, when I open it up, it still says update the app here.
Mhm.
And it has the little thing. It said it's underlined here. And
Yep.
every time I press it, it goes to a screen or whatever that doesn't do anything.
Well,
And
so mine takes me to the App Store, and then the App Store says, "It's already updated. Do you wanna open the app?" And I'm like, "Well, okay." So you just go back through
yeah,
it again.
yeah, it's interesting. I guess the reason that why I mainly bring it up, and I want to say hey to Jay Ryan too for just a second. He just kind of sent me a message watching the stream tonight, and I really appreciate it, Jay. Um, is that I just my thing is there's different ways of doing this. I know creating FOMO, it's just what our world lives in today, right? It's about comic books and variants. It's about, making sure you don't miss whatever is coming out. But this is not like a special edition. This is not a $400 figurine. This is not you know what I mean? Like, this is just their regular line. Now, okay, yes, they have exclusives, but this is just their regular line. And I just don't get it. And on top of that, now we're looking at you're ordering something and they've got a date on it that says, oh, by the way, it's going to be September of next year for the regular classified figure. Now,
Yep.
that obviously you and I have our thoughts about this whole, we have to get out our contract stuff first. But to me, it's
It's
insane
complicated.
that a line that regularly and routinely brings them notification or through the community, that brings them notoriety and sales, that they're talking about pushing off this stuff till next year. That's insane to me. Like, I just do not understand this process. And I'm not as deep in it, I know, as you are, and as many of the people listening are, when it comes to, especially
The,
within toys. But I just don't understand it. It's just not
yeah.
a
Well,
sound practice to me.
there's a lot of possibilities about what's going on with that, and it's all speculation because Hasbro's buttoned up, tight-lipped about it,
Right.
and they will never say.
No, we'll
You know,
never. No, I just had this conversation with Three Star Draw
yeah,
earlier today. We'll never get any
but yeah,
clarification.
but my speculation it has to do with contract rights and tooling up factories for exactly what they need to fulfill their contracts or try to make money on contracts before they have to renew them to decide if they want to renew those contracts or
Right.
not.
Right. I did want to say hey to Liquid Identity
What's up?
101. I don't even like Cobra Law, but I almost got Nemesis until this Pulse crap again. And nope, screw it. I understand. Dreadnought K6. Uh, COC Fomosexual. That is a new one. We'll have to chalk that one up as a new checkbox for some companies. We'll see how that works. Yeah. But I think everybody in here, even Crusty Old Crow says, I feel the Trench Viper set would have sold out better if it was co-released with a second background set in that same wave to
Yeah.
show the potential. Yeah, and look, I mean, we're fans, and obviously we are all going to definitely have
So
our
uh,
criticisms right about
I will say
how they
that
do things.
was it Shooting the Galaxy or somebody on Instagram showed an image of 8 of them, 4 in the bottom and 4 in the top, and how they
Yeah,
fit
yeah,
together.
stack.
So,
Yep,
I mean, they've been playing with this, and if you look in the background of some of those shots, you can see one of the barricades is all unfolded behind the barricade box, right? And then you have a couple of them that are stacked together in the background. So if you look real close, you can see some of the playability of how it is. I don't know how it'll actually look, but I would like somebody to come out and talk about it a little bit more and play with
right,
one. Unfold it,
right,
show us
right.
what it's about, and really get in there and try to show us the playability of what's going on with it and the different things we can do with it. And that way, on Hasbro Pulse, you're limited to 3. So you couldn't get more than 3. So you couldn't even build the full stackable thing
That they showed you,
that they
or that
showed
you
you
saw.
because
Right,
you
right.
can only get 3. I was like, at least give us a chance to get 4,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
But so I don't know because it's a Pulse exclusive or whatever if they're just holding back on that. They're tentative to see how well it sells. If it does well, they'll make another run. Maybe I don't know.
I don't know. Sharlock, though, this is interesting too. He says I stopped using the app entirely while the app used a different data set than the site makes zero sense. 20 years in IT, never seen anything so convoluted. Yeah, it is really weird. I actually today opened Chrome. I had to go to Chrome to do the pre-order today.
Yeah.
The app would not work for me, so I had to go to Chrome and then I had to re-log in and then go at it earlier that way, which I thought was just odd. I just would not work. I no matter how many times I refreshed it, I even force stopped the app. You can do that in your phone.
Yep.
Force stop it. I did that a couple times. Did not come up, and I thought, "Are you kidding me? Like, is this really going to happen?" And then I just
Yep.
went to Chrome and said, "The hell with it." And then say hello to Men. Joseph, what's up?
What's
What's up
up?
with you, buddy? Um, so look, I didn't want to spend, a long time on it. I know the speculation on Nemesis was somewhere in like the $45 range. You were talking about the Trench Viper being, in the $55 range, which you guys both hit on that. Um, so yeah, I mean, either way, yeah, I think that you're right. I think they will be back up. I think it's a
Yep.
matter of just checking. And then if you don't, there's other means, right? I mean, I know the exclusives are what they are, but it's just interesting conversation, and I thought it needed to be at least said. One quick thing, I'd mentioned this to you as well, and I just wanted to ask you. We talked about this before we went on. So who is this character? Who is this character in the background?
Hmm.
Who is this guy? Do you guys in the chat have thoughts on this? Usually we get the Easter eggs whenever they do the photographs. They show the who is this with the green sword and the horns? It looks like Loki, you know.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you can't really, judge it based off of that stuff, right?
I'm
Because
just
it's
curious. I'm just curious because they always give Easter eggs.
yeah,
and people are saying Pythona, Royal Guard, makes sense.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
Royal Guard seems to be the biggest one, and if they're doing what I think they're doing, then they're going to have that bug mask on them with the antenna
yes,
coming up because
yes,
they're insectoids, right? Or they're lizards and
yes.
insects or whatever, right? So they're that fusion of that kind of technology, and you put the carapace with it. That was Lenny's hot button word that he wanted to use. He's
Oh,
got
he was
carapace,
all of
carapace,
that, and
carapace,
chitin,
carapace, chitin,
chitin.
chitin. That
He
was
was
it.
he was all about that chitin, wasn't he?
Yeah.
When he was talking about it, he said it like 20
Oh
times.
yeah, he wouldn't stop saying it. So if you got this you know green flaming scimitar and the bug antennas, and then the fancy skirt for the battle skirt, yeah, I think we're looking at Royal Guard there.
Yeah. Well, I just wanted to get your thoughts. I know, obviously, that's something that is a hot button issue for a lot of people. And of course, those Easter eggs are a big deal when they show those photographs, and everybody's trying to figure out what's next, right? What's next? What's next? So yeah, a little bit of GI Joe pre-order news. I did, however. Oh, okay, hang on. What was that? What was that? Bobby Wold said there.
Yeah, he thinks it's going to be Globulus with a weird crown. The only reason I can see that
Could
kind
be.
of as he's going
Could
down,
be.
but the only thing that separates that is that I would think that sword wielding arm would be larger as he has the disproportionate body limbs and stuff. So
Um,
no, not putting that one up there, Menjoza. Sorry.
oh, that's great. Oh
I
man.
don't want to say that word on stream just in case.
I know, right? So let's get to a little news you can use in the movie biz. All right, let's get down to what I know I'm definitely good for. At least the toy world, I'm good for the GI Joe stuff, but beyond that, I am a babe in the woods, man. But I did want to get into this article that came out on Variety, and this was shared on one of my favorite shows on Tuesdays, The Real BBC, with Gary from Nerdrotic and Az from Heels versus Babyface and Mahler. And they went over this article today. I had actually already sent this article to myself, Matthew.
Yeah.
I did. I read it or looked through it and sent it to myself. And then when they brought it up, I was like, well, crap, I was going to bring that up. So obviously it's okay because we don't have to worry about cross audience right now.
I do want to comment on this. Somebody
Yeah.
just threw up in the chat.
Yes.
Yes,
Yep. Terry
Terry
Gar.
Garr just died. Yeah, it's a sad day. My wife says we have to watch Young Frankenstein tomorrow, so
Oh
so
gosh.
that's what we're gonna do. But yeah, they'll be missed a lot. There, you know.
The World According to Garp.
Yep.
I remember that one as a kid. Holy moly.
Yep.
And so yeah, I did. I saw that earlier as well. And it look, man, for a lot of us growing up in a period of time where we're gonna start to see, right? It's like thinking about my mom, watching the people she watched growing up, right? Your
Yep.
John Waynes and all these people. And it's gonna be that way for us, right? There's gonna be a lot of these movie stars, and who's gonna fill their shoes, as the George Jones song says. I don't really know because Hollywood is in a
They're
heap of
lacking a
trouble.
lot of movie stars.
They are, and
They've got a
and
lot
as
of adult pretenders and not a lot of
yes,
movie stars.
and as we get into it here, so Super Burnout. This came out on Variety on the 28th. With most superhero movies flopping, can Marvel and DC's 2025 slates reverse an unprecedented box office drought? Um, the main crux of this, and as we look here, just for anybody that's interested, Venom, for instance, The Last Dance, took in 51 million domestic opening weekend. Lower than the first two installments. I think maybe a decent opening for that movie. I don't know if anybody here in the chat is planning on going to see it. I have no plans whatsoever. I didn't even see the
I
second one.
Yeah, I actually want to see it. I don't know when I'm going to get a chance to see it, so it'll probably be after it comes out. But I they're they're simple, dumb, fun movies. They're 90s superhero movies, in modern times. So, I mean, there's there's something to enjoy about it, I'm sure.
Oh, I'm sure. And look, and from the reviews I've seen from the people I trust, there are certain things, there's certain scenes, there's certain action. Uh,
Mhm.
but disposable content, so to speak,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's your hungry man microwavable dinner,
I mean,
right?
I've got a lot of guilty
Saying,
pleasure movies, and I think that's probably
yeah.
gonna be one of them.
So in this article, superhero movies used to be an indispensable revenue driver for the film industry in 2018, 2019. The average global gross for superhero fare was more than 1 billion.
Yep.
This year, it's half that, even with the record-breaking success of Deadpool and Wolverine. Um, then you have it says the comic book movie it says in fact Ryan Reynolds' Hugh Jackman vehicle is the only comic book movie that could qualify as a hit since Spider-Man Across the Universe debuted in June of 2023, which did make money. That was a pretty big
Across
film.
the Universe or No Way Home?
Across the Universe.
What's
That
Across
that's
the
the
Universe?
animated. That was the animated. That was a sequel to the Spider
That
Into the Spider-Verse.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so, but it says since then the
Was that
genre
a
has suffered.
success? It wasn't that good.
It did pretty well. It
Okay.
did pretty well.
I like the first one
Um,
better.
but I did
I
I did too. But they talk about the Flash, the Marvels, Madam Web,
Yep.
Joker, Folie à Deux, and basically talk about the fact that year over year, if even if you look at this chart, going back to all the way to 2000 when it comes to
Mhm.
like superhero, movies, we can see that 2012 to 2018, topping the 1 billion or 800 million, 600 million average,
Yep.
pretty strong. I mean, it
Yep.
seemed like everything Marvel released really couldn't do any wrong
Yep.
up until right before COVID. And and since then, and they mentioned the COVID numbers, right? And I'll acknowledge that yes, people were scared to go to the theater for a time, but also what we were getting, right? The Marvel Phase 4, for instance, what they showed up with post Endgame was brutal.
Yep.
And then you look, 2021 to 2024, and then your average is in the 6 to under 400. Um, and so between 2015 and 2019, 25 out of 30 superhero titles, 83% took in more than 500 million worldwide.
Yep.
After the pandemic, since 2022, only 10 of 17, 59% have made less than 500, or it says 10 of 17 have made less than 500 million globally. Um, is it fatigue? Do you think it's fatigue, or do you think it's the lack of quality in the films? And to put this on top of it, do you feel like Disney has tried to make it so that you need to watch all their shows to really understand what's even going on with their films?
So, I I honestly I don't think it's fatigue. I think it's crap quality. And people are tired of eating the crap sandwich, and they want something of substance. When you have good movies come out, they generally do well. And at this point, there have been some good ones that have come out that people haven't gone to because they're so bitter over the crap sandwiches they've been fed.
Right.
And so I don't necessarily call that fatigue. I call that laziness on their side because they're not self-reflective. There's nobody in Hollywood who is self-reflective. They will not look at themselves and say, "Okay, how do we make this better? How do we make more money off of this?" until they've got a noose around their neck and they're getting ready to be hung, right?
Right.
They're like, "Wait a minute, we can actually do this and that'll make money." Yeah, no kidding. You could have done that, 10 years ago. And so this is Hollywood arrogance, Hollywood stupidity, and they're blaming the fans for everything. And it's not the fans' fault when you put out crap and people don't go see crap.
Yeah, it's not the fans' fault when you take someone who is a documentary filmmaker and give them a $200 million budget and ask them to make a superhero film and it flops. Um, you
Yeah,
know,
I'll say this to the end of time, right? Pressure, stress, limitations are the mother of creation, right?
right, right.
This is how you get creative endeavors to happen. And I will the movies that I'm going to talk about, most of them were low budget films that couldn't be made any other way. And some of them, blew past their budgets and they had to do stuff or whatever. But the vast majority of really good films are low budget. There's very few high budget films that are of really, really good quality because once you have all that money, you think you can get away with whatever you want and you do whatever you want, and then it turns out poorly because you're not under the time constraints
Well,
or time constraints, money constraints, creative. You have to think more creatively when you're under that kind of pressure.
to me, I almost begin to start looking at some of these projects as just tax write-offs. And
Well, if it were, they wouldn't be distributing them because they get all of their money back if they don't ever release it, and they
well,
call it a
no,
tax write-off.
that's true in a sense, but I'm sure there are other ways that this falls
Well,
into
I,
taxes and writing off certain expenses at the very least, and
uh,
they get tax breaks for filming in different countries and
right
different states. But the thing of it
there.
is, I think one of the biggest problems is we're not getting good mid market movies, right? Like mid-budget movies. And I also feel the video
Yeah.
game business is in a problem with this as well. It's either triple A or bust. And
Yep.
once Marvel started once every film that was coming out was just hit after hit after hit after hit, then to them that's the norm, right? Not the
Yep.
exception. And it's normally that's the exception. And they think every movie should be a tentpole movie, but what happens is then you have your smaller films that get pushed out, and
Hmm.
so there may be great filmmaking taking place, but they're not going to invest in it because it's not a triple A
So
or it's not a high budget $1 billion film. It's like $1 billion or bust,
well, and
and their
then
$1 billion films have been busting.
this is the problem with the budgets as well. The budgets are inflated, conflated, whatever. They're inflated so much because of the success that they've had. Everybody wants a piece of the pie. So you have all these
Right.
people who do fuck all for the project and they get a piece of the pie because they can put their name on it. So they say I stood on set for 5 minutes and I said this and they did it, and so I get a producer credit and you're going to pay me in perpetuity. So every time this property comes out again, I get a piece of it. And this is the problem with these some of these royalty rights is that you can't make a property anymore without paying everybody out. You cannot make a Karate Kid movie without paying Jackie Chan and Will Smith. Okay, because they made that crappy ass movie and it should have been called the Kung Fu Kid, but they called it the Karate Kid. So then
Right.
they have producer credit on everything related to Mr. Miyagi and Daniel LaRusso and all that stuff because of that one movie, right? And this happens throughout all IPs, and that's why the budgets get higher and higher and higher because the actors want more. There's more producers involved, and then you get crappy results because you have too many people trying to put their 2 cents in that you can't have a cohesive vision on anything.
Well, and I also think that the reboot itis, sequel itis is a big problem, right? Instead of getting brand new IPs, brand new properties, we're getting nothing but sequels and reboots, right? And I think that's fine if it's done fresh and done in a new way, I guess. But at the same token, I do think that people are kind of a bit tired of it. And unfortunately, for a lot of these companies, they want to make the safe play, right? The safe play is to make a reboot, to make a sequel to something that nobody asked for. Obviously, we've seen in the last several years that there's also been, identity politics included into these things. You've had certain political narratives that have been injected into a lot of our comics and movies and television, right? And so I think that's turned a lot of people off. Superhero movies should be at the very least free of those constraints, right? It should be a hero's journey. It should be that's what it should always be about. We don't need to know who somebody slept with. We don't need to know what they identify as. And yet those things have still been slipped into these films. And over time, people are going to check out. Maybe not at first. Maybe it doesn't seem like a big deal, But every time you check in and then you see the same thing, then you're eventually you're going to check out if that's not your thing. And so I did want to get to this where Marvel, and I want to know in the chat too, anybody's interested in this. We've got Captain America Brave New World. We've got Thunderbolts. You've got Fantastic Four First Steps. Is anybody interested in that? And I want to highlight a few
Let's
comments in the
let,
chat
yep.
while we kind of go
Let's
over
say
that.
hello to our buddy Ronnie
Yeah,
Trickshot.
there we go. Ronnie, trick shot, corner pocket.
G'day, legends.
Off
What I
the bank.
miss? And I said, you missed some YouTube gold at the beginning. We were in costume. We were waiting for you guys to show up. But
Yeah.
the masks are a little uncomfortable.
The mask is off, and now all you have is this beautiful face to look at, Ronnie. And I don't apologize. Don't hate me because I'm beautiful.
All right, cover girl. All right, I love this one. So what do you do? Jiu-jitsu teens instead, or how about Aikido adolescents? That's right up there with radioactive adolescent hamsters. Or
I mean, it's did we okay, just take
that is a thing, by the way, if you ever wanted to look that up.
Okay.
Radioactive adolescent hamsters. Or karate hamsters, radioactive adolescent karate hamsters.
So that's somebody obviously playing off of TMNT. Okay. Real quick. So Sharlock says the MCU has become paper thin. If the writing was there instead of somebody constantly trying to make a point, comic fans might start enjoying the films again. And Sharlock, it's not just comic fans. It's what we would call quote unquote normies, right? Even the normies have checked out. Even the people who don't collect the comics, who don't
here's the
buy
thing.
figures.
The normies are the ones that make the world go round, right?
Yes.
So they're living their lives, they're spending their money, and if something's exciting or they hear wind of it and people are excited about it, or whatever, they'll go see it. And I mean, it happens with every type of movie. So if people are excited about superhero movies, they go, oh, let's go be excited about the next superhero movie. And they don't know the comic book lore, they don't know any of that stuff, so they go in and watch it from that perspective. And if there's not engaging characters or storyline, they're like, well, what the hell was that? And they're disenchanted, and they're like, I'm not going to go see the next one. Right.
100%. I think, one of the mistakes that Disney made was also kind of asking people to subscribe to Disney Plus. And then in order to understand the next show or the next movie, you needed to have to watch this show.
So they kind of disprove that. Even Kevin Feige has said those shows are not really connected to anything in the movies. They're in the same universe, but they never wanted to make them.
If you want, wait a minute.
They never wanted to make it integral into the story for the next movie.
I understand that, but if you went to see Multiverse of Madness and you didn't watch WandaVision, then what the hell? You wouldn't know what the hell happened. What the heck? What happened to Wanda? You would have no clue.
Yeah, which most people didn't see that TV show going into that movie. And so they just had to play off of what they knew from the movies.
And it doesn't make any sense, right? None of that squares up. It's like this. Why? What is her motivation now? I mean, you just saw this chick helping out, helping defeat Thanos, right? You know what I mean? Vision, it just, but yeah, no, to an extent, yes, I understand. Yes. As far as disproven, maybe you didn't have to watch all of it. Obviously, we haven't seen some of those shows come to fruition, or at least the next phase, right? The next Avengers or whatever with Hawkeye, or with whatever.
I'd say see, there are 23 films. I'd say that probably 18 to 19 of them. So yeah, maybe 20. Okay, I'll give you 20. But first 23 left you up to Endgame. And I'd say that
it's been tough sledding since then.
Real tough sledding since then.
Yeah, it's been tough sledding. And let's see real quick. Liquid Identity says, let's see, get these new leading actors, actresses to sell the movie and not their political agendas. That would help. And every time we see interviews with them, they definitely turn off people. Yep. Even someone quote unquote a normie would watch an interview with Rachel Zegler and go, what is wrong with this girl? What is wrong?
And I don't understand. I mean, in today's age of social media, I don't understand why a corporation such as Disney or Warner Brothers would not have a studios type system set up. The studio system worked. Okay, nobody knew Rock Hudson was gay until way after the fact because
Right.
of the studio system. They protected him. They controlled what he said, who he talked with, the interviews. They controlled it all, and quite frankly, I mean, these people are vapid vessels of emptiness, and they'll do whatever you say. And then, the minute that they think that they have their own idea and they start spousing it off, thinking that they have righteous indignation on their side, they look really stupid, and they make a fool of themselves. And people are like, "Why would I come watch you in another movie if that's the way you think about the world?" Because it doesn't match with what's really going on in the world.
You know, and even, people that are not involved or pay too much attention with pop culture, it's not like they need to see 10 interviews with this person saying the same thing. You only need a couple, three, and then they say the same stuff over and over every time you see them, and it's enough to turn people off. And again, we talk about actors being empty vessels, and a high school education or less,
Yep.
and it shows up when they do interviews so often. Mendoza says no interest in Cap 3. They ruined Falcon and Bucky. They had a buddy cop chemistry. I agree. They should have
I,
given.
I
They
think he
should have
means
given.
Cap 4, by the way.
Well, yeah. But they should have given Bucky, the shield.
Yep.
To It was a disservice. You had built up over movies this chemistry and this relationship, and then you all of a sudden decide to undercut that for what? For why? And I
Yep.
think we know why. But
I, right there. I mean, that says it all right there. The Reacher star did that. My wife and I were all about Reacher, and then he opens his mouth during
yeah,
interviews, and we're
yes,
done with it. And it's like that show was awesome. I really liked the first two seasons of that show. I was looking forward to more. He plays a perfect Reacher. He's the right size and build for it, better than obviously Tom Cruise being a short little dude. But and to some degree, I can separate the actor from the performance, but at some point, I can't. Like Alec Baldwin. I mean, I can't separate who he is now
man.
from
Hey,
his performances anymore.
dude, I'm with you. And look, it even goes into sports, right? Like, and I know maybe some of y'all watch, sports teams, and have a favorite team, or you're diehard. I know I am. But even in sports, that's difficult because you see what these guys do off the field, and it's like you want to be able to separate this, but mentally you can't do it. And especially when you see it over and over again,
Yeah,
and like that comment with the Reacher star. Yeah, I agree. It's like, man, I want to like this guy. This is a man's man. This is a man,
right.
and then you read some of the stuff he said, and and you're just like, can a publicist, can somebody just grab this person and shake them and go like, shut
Yep.
up, just shut up, just
Yeah,
you have fans, like shut
yep.
the hell up.
The it's like an origin story. You don't need them most of the time, right?
No.
You get the gist of it, but you don't need a whole movie that's a retroactive origin story of something because those don't ever work out that well. And same thing with you guys
Correct.
out there acting in Hollywood. We need to know your front facing action, your persona that you're playing in that movie. We don't need to know who you really are. And Kurt Russell said it the best. Said I pretend for a living. You don't, I live in a world of make believe. You don't want to know what I truly believe, and I don't. You shouldn't care what I really believe because that's mine, and I'm going to do my life. You do your life. I'm just going to present you entertaining material that hopefully you enjoy. And if you do, come see my movies, and we can chat or whatever. But my political views or my social views are going to be evident in the way I spend my money and
Right.
some of the charities I support or the organizations that I support or whatever. But honestly, that's none of your business.
Well, your
That's
your
my private life.
your job is entertainment.
Right.
Your job is entertainment. You get paid
But
a
that's not what they're
lot.
told these days.
No,
The-
it's not. But the thing of it is the numbers bear it out. So if you think you're dealing with people who have a mind about them, to understand when they look at the box office, when they look at the streaming numbers, when they look at people tuning out, right? When they look at the Rotten Tomatoes numbers and all this stuff, you would think they could put two and two together and understand, hey, maybe I need to change our tactics. Maybe I need to change my tactics. Maybe I need to shut the hell up and write a good script and
Mhm.
entertain people. And you look at somebody like Russell T Davies,
Mhm.
somebody who wrote great Doctor Who episodes, who had a fan base and throws it all away
Well, I mean, he's
in the
written a lot
name
of
of
great
identity
shows.
politics. Right, but I'm just saying, like, for most people, they'd know him as Doctor Who,
Yeah,
for Doctor Who.
but I believe he was on Jekyll, and he did some Sherlock Holmes, and, he's had quite the career, but then all of a
He's
sudden,
throwing it all away.
he just threw it all away.
For what? For what? For identity politics and to be on the right side of history. Everybody thinks they're on the right side of history. Of course they do.
Oh,
But
okay. Sorry, that was Moffat. Sorry, not Davies, but they're kinda in the same boat.
but I wanted to get in this too because this is interesting too because so for y'all that are hoping for the next Spider-Man movie to be awesome, I want you to understand who it is who they have running this thing. Okay, Destin Daniel Cretton. Do you know what Daniel Destin Cretton did? What Marvel movie he directed?
No.
Shang-Chi.
Oh, that's right, yes. Yeah, the Shang-Chi
So
director
so
got
you're
hired on for that, yeah.
you're gonna go from the last Spider-Man movie, which universally was probably loved by most everyone, and the box office receipts show that,
Yeah.
to somebody who did Shang-Chi. Now, I know you kinda like Shang-Chi, right?
No.
I thought you did.
I mean, it's okay, but it's not a Marvel superhero movie.
No.
It's not a I mean,
It's not
there's
well written, that's for sure.
no,
The dialogue is not good. It's
and I cannot stand Awkwafina.
oh my god.
I mean, there's maybe 1 or 2 roles that I appreciate her in that I've seen, like Crazy Rich Asians or
Sure.
the multiverse movie with Michelle Yeoh and stuff. But
Oh,
um,
yeah.
um,
Everything, everywhere, all at once.
yeah, Everything Everywhere. That I love. Yeah, that's a great movie.
Yeah.
But for the most part, she plays herself, which is annoying and stupid. And that's she's going for comedic laughs or whatever. And if you're doing that, that's fine. But it wasn't Shang-Chi's movie, right? So the whole movie
Yeah.
was about his sister and her relationship with her father. It had nothing to do with Shang-Chi.
No, he was a
And
passenger in his own movie. He was a
yeah,
guest
well,
star.
I mean, he's a clip art model, right?
Man,
I
you
mean,
ain't kidding. Yeah,
uh,
yeah, you ain't kidding.
he's a stock photo model. That's his career. You can go look
Yes.
it up. That's his career, and that's all he's ever been. Is and you could say whatever you want, but even the Asians say, you know, he's too ugly to be put on Asian film. in,
Yes,
in
that
their
that
in
is
their perspective, because you look at the Chinese people and they're like, he doesn't look Chinese, and you look at he doesn't look like they expect aesthetically to
look it up,
look.
folks. Look it
Yeah.
up. This is true. Look it up. I
And then
promise
he
you.
goes on what, Shark Tank or whatever,
Yeah,
and
well, yes, that's a disaster.
yeah, and he goes off and he's like, "What are you talking about? You're Canadian. You don't even have any connection to
He
this stuff."
Yeah, he denigrates these 2 French Canadians. He makes fun of the way they talk, which I thought was quite interesting. And he doesn't do it so much as he's just, mentions about, the language and thinks they're talking about bubble tea instead of boba tea, and it's but no,
Well, no, it was all about cultural appropriation
yes, it was
and
cultural appropriation, and even they went out of their way to try to understand and work with their
yeah,
partners in Taiwan, and he's still
but
like he shows you everything he's about in
even the
that
people
show.
that were talking with him were like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" You could see it on their face and the way they ask questions when they're
Yeah,
trying to figure out what he's
Simu
talking
Liu's a
about.
piece of shit. I'm
Well,
sorry.
he's another vapid actor from Hollywood, and he thinks he's on all these social causes and
Right.
stuff. And I
Yeah.
understand, you know, there's a certain degree of respect that you need to show of something that comes from another culture. And if you're making it and you're not of that culture, there's something to be said about that. But I will also tell you that some of the best Japanese sword makers in the world live here in the United States these
Yeah,
days.
listen, and
You
that's
know?
the thing, right? Just because you have a business or an idea, it's like you're not completely changing something, and even if you're saying improving upon something, it doesn't mean that like it's the end all be all. It doesn't
Right.
mean that you are, you know, doing something about that culture. A lot of times it's inspiration.
Right,
You get
exactly.
inspired by other
Yes.
cultures, and that creates something else
Yep.
that, if people enjoy it enough, right? And that only speaks to that culture. So the cultural appropriation, I mean, what are we gonna get to? Whoever invented fucking pants,
Yeah.
now you
I
can't
mean,
wear pants because somebody invented pants and it's appropriating pants. That's a Chris Gore
well,
one
I
right
mean,
there. I
well,
love
yeah,
it. It's so
and
stupid.
yeah, and Hollywood is all about actors are not allowed to act anymore. You have to be exactly like the character to be cast
Oh,
as that
yeah, no,
character.
if you want it to be a gay character, it has to be a gay actor. If you
Yeah.
want it to be, and look, I'm not saying if you don't wanna, cast someone who's Greek to play a Greek character. Look, I get it, right? Hollywood in the 50s, 60s, 40s, whatever, you had white people playing Indians or Native Americans. Look, I get it.
Yeah.
But
And yeah, I understand that when you're taking something away from somebody else, but then Peter Dinklage
right.
goes on a tirade, and now none of the dwarf actors can get any work because they're afraid of Peter
Uh-huh.
Dinklage's tirades.
Yeah, no, it's and we could and I didn't mean to really, go way down that, but I did notice that Destin Daniel Cretton is doing the
Yeah.
Spider-Man movie, and that may very well change. I mean, look, these things change all the time. But again, they talk about the Sony Spider-Verse without Spider-Man, which is goofy. I don't know how Sony thought that a Craven movie would work. I mean, Venom, yes, the first one, made some money. I think it's diminishing returns, as it's noted in this article.
Yeah, diminishing
Um,
returns, but they still have all or the first 2 have made quite a bit of money, which is why
but
they keep making them.
but then you have like the Morbius, which became a national joke or a worldwide joke. Now
It's
you have
Morbin time.
Now you've got the James Gunn, DC universe. They're gonna start it out with an animated series, which I think is a mistake. I'm not saying it couldn't be cool. I'm not saying it can't be neat, but you've got 10, so they have a 10 movie slate. Now, before they've even figured out anything, they're saying, "We're gonna put out 10 movies and shows." I would say start small. Start with 2 or 3, gauge the public interest before you sink a bunch of money into committing to 10 films or 10
Did
projects.
did Warner Brothers not learn their lesson the last time?
Yes,
When
exactly.
they tried to copy Marvel by jumping into it from the get, and Marvel made a movie, and it was okay. They made another movie, and it was pretty darn successful. And then they continued to build off of that by putting little things that, hey, we would like to do this. So they put a little Easter egg in here and there. And then you built this whole universe from making quality films and backing it up, right? You had a foundation and you went up from there.
Yes.
And you didn't know where it was going to go necessarily, but you thought maybe we can go here if this works. So if you're already saying, hey, we've got 10 movies planned, it's going to be a bomb. What happened to the Dark Universe? Right? You had 2 movies that flopped so hard, it killed the entire concept at Universal Pictures. There was not gonna be a dark universe.
And I was actually looking forward to that. You
So
know
was
that
I.
I actually was really, and I know some people in the chat probably were looking forward to that dark universe as well with the Mummy and
And I will tell
Invisible
you,
Man and yeah, I was looking forward to that.
the original Universal Pictures monster movies is the largest connected universe franchise of movies.
Right.
You know, it went from the 40s to the 60s. Right? And you
Yeah.
have movies that span that entire time frame that are in one cohesive universe.
Um, yeah, I was really excited for it, and then I saw the, Tom Cruise,
I
Mummy.
never saw it. I never saw
Yeah,
it.
yeah, I did, and I can tell you I remember about half of
I'll
it. That's how
I'm sorry.
interested.
I'll stick with this one.
Yeah, right. I would stick with that one too. You're doing far better off. Man, Joseph says they're bringing it back.
Well, I I mean they've got to redo it or figure out a new game plan from
They
the
better
ground
have
up.
a real good game plan, bro, to do it after that last go round.
And okay, so are they going to start with stealing another person's property and saying Nosferatu's theirs because
Right.
Nosferatu's trending to look pretty good, and that would be a great vampire movie to start it off with. But if I don't know. I mean, I did
We'll
like
see.
Benicio del Toro's The
Me
Wolfman.
too.
I thought that was pretty good, especially with Anthony Hopkins. How can you go wrong with Anthony Hopkins? Um, so that was fun.
Yeah, real quick, want to say hey to Punk with Toys. Want to say hello, fools, but I'm about to pass out. I understand, and far be it from
Hey,
me to want to keep you up after you just spent 36
yeah,
hours
no
this
kidding.
past weekend
Well, not just
staying
that. I
up.
mean, he tried calling me and I was at dinner, so I couldn't help him, but somebody else helped him out with something he was working on. And I'm like, I know
Okay,
that was a lot of stress too.
okay.
I wish I could have helped him out with that. But hey, go back to the beginning of the stream and watch the beginning because it's quite entertaining.
Yes, we did our best. Matthew did a way better best than I did my best. That's for sure. But yeah, Punk did an amazing job with that stream over the
Yeah.
weekend, and man, it takes a lot. Takes a lot. I know I had a few people hanging out, and my cousin hung out quite a bit through there too, and I definitely would have loved to. Like I said, I just kind of found out about the in between periods a little bit late to the game, but it looked like everybody had a really good time, man, and that's what it's all about in raising money, man. So yeah, Punk did an amazing job, and next year I'm sure will be even more so.
Yep.
So real quick, I found this kind of an interesting in this article too. It says Peter Gunn or Peter Safran and James Gunn, they have a pledge that no DC project will move forward without a finished script. To also help mitigate the risk for the company should Superman falter. Now,
I'm
I
sorry.
hope I hope
Shouldn't
no
shouldn't
project
shouldn't have that been the SOP all the time?
I hope no project goes forward without a finished script. It's like, what? Like, yes,
Why?
that should be your standard operating procedure, hands down. Here we are, base minimum,
Well,
right?
but you do know that most of the Marvel movies in the last 4 or 5 years have got moved forward without
They
finished
so
script.
you know as well as I do, they film. So for those of you that may or may not know this, I don't know. For those of you in the chat, the Marvel movies, when they hire a director, especially post Endgame, but even before then, really, but post Endgame, when they hire a director or cast a director, as they've done recently, the fight scenes are already storyboarded, done out. The
So
director has no say so whatsoever in any of the fight scenes, choreography at any point. Those are
so
already done and storyboarded and everything.
this is most famously done with the Black Widow movie. So every
Yes.
single fight scene and CGI event in that movie was finished 2 years before they started writing the scripts or filming with the actresses or actors and actresses for the vast majority of that movie. All that CGI and pre-render and special effects scenes and fight scenes were already done.
Yes, it's well known that so let's say Matthew, let's say you're an up and coming or a well established director. You've had hit, and they bring you in. They're going to tell you right off the bat, no, you don't get to choreograph the fight scenes in your style. You don't get to direct them in any way. They're already done. The CGI is already worked on. Um, if
That's
you're
why
a film
Patty Jenkins walked off the set. She
Yeah, if
said,
you're a filmmaker, you're like, "Well, why can't I put my spin on this?" And
"Yep,
that's where then those films have a certain sameness
yep,
and a certain disconnect
yep."
from the director, and then you're limited as a director while you're trying to make this film. So that's where the casting directors comes into because they're not hiring a director for their merits. They're hiring them either based off of gender or whatever box they may check, which is been the case. But on top of that, that director doesn't even really get to put their spin on one of the main parts of the movie, which are your action scenes. And a
which
lot
is
of times we've seen in movies that can be such a groundbreaking or amazing thing when a director has their own style when
yep.
it comes to action scenes in particular.
But and that's exactly what happened with Patty Jenkins, right? Is
Yeah,
because she had such a successful film with Wonder Woman that they gave her carte blanche to run with the Wonder Woman 1984. She botched that big time, and Marvel's like, "Hey, we want to use a female director. Will you come and work on this Black Widow movie?" And she's like, "Sure." And then she found out that she can't actually direct anything in the movie because the corporate overlords have already done all the work for her and said all you have to do is show up on set and say action and cut and maybe give some cues to the actors
right.
sometimes, but
Hey,
everything's already done.
wait a minute. Wait. Hang on a second. Ronnie Trickshot.
You didn't know that by now? Come on.
You can't say that during the stream, man. That's a DM, brother.
You need me to boot him? I can boot him.
I mean, you got to put him in timeout, man. Mate. Come on, mate. You can't say that. I'm just kidding.
Ronnie,
That's
he hasn't
great.
put it on screen yet because you're about 10 seconds behind where we are.
That's true. And also, I can leave my hat on, Ronnie. So you don't want me to do the full Monty. Not on camera. Yeah. So take a photo. All right. So anyway, yeah, I just saw that. That was great. So yeah, man. So look, anybody in the chat, are you interested? Are you excited for any of the new Marvel movies coming out? Are they on your horizon? Do you care about Fantastic Four? Do you care about the new Captain America? I don't. I
I
mean, I'm
will
just being
I will
straight up.
say I love the Fantastic Four. I will go see the Fantastic Four. That's a movie that I'm not going to be able to pass up. And I'm going to report on how I think about it when that happens. But Marvel has shifted gears for all intents and purposes. Even Kevin Feige has come out and said some things that they are shifting gears and they're moving away from that idea. Now, how far away are they at this point? These projects aren't off the ground just yet. So hopefully they can focus on quality of content instead of narrative preaching or whatever. I don't know.
Right.
But after the next couple of weeks, that may change drastically. I don't know.
So I will say that part of the burnout maybe, or part of the reason why people have kind of stopped going or tuned out of the shows, tuned out of the movies, and even moving forward, depending on what the motive is, right? Depending on the director and what the motive of the director is. And real quick, I saw Action Figs actually in the chat. I did want to say hey.
What's up, bud?
Um,
I'd love to see a Fantastic Four movie, but the previous ones have been so bad. I'm concerned. Outside of that, I'm tired of superhero based movies. I get it, man. I mean, so when they've been so bad for so long, I can see why people would be tired of them. And the Fantastic Four is a passion of me. I like that storyline, that dynamic.
right.
There's elements of the Chris Evans ones that I like. I mean, I love the Silver Surfer, so I'm biased on these, but the Roger Corman Fantastic Four is still the best Fantastic Four movie that's never been released in actuality, even though you can watch it.
Yeah, I
So
know it.
I'm always hopeful that somebody will do it right for once, and not have the cheapness of a Roger Corman movie. Not that that's necessarily a bad thing, but I want to have hope for that. So I'm
Well, I'm
trepidous.
gonna go. I mean, look, I'm gonna go see it when it comes out.
Yeah.
Obviously, because I want to be able to give my opinion on it. I mean, that's the thing. I do hate it. And real quick, Liquid Identity says I've been out of superhero movies since before Endgame. I just don't care about superheroes anymore because they have no gravitas. I think the deconstruction part of our superheroes has also turned off a lot of people.
Have I
It's like
ranted on deconstruction?
Right. I mean,
I-
exactly. I mean, it's just it's your hero's journey is what turns people on. Your deconstruction, yes, while interesting, The Watchmen interesting, but it's not what you want all the time. And when you start to get it on a regular basis, it it's not what people want. Yes, I agree, Ronnie. Jessica Alba, look, that whole scene with her on the bridge and was kind of goofy, where she has to she becomes visible again, and for some reason she's like covering herself. It's like what the hell is happening? Um, so so yeah, just kind of want to get an idea, is anybody interested? Francie Brady says kind of interested in a lot of them based on what might happen with them based on rumors and stuff. Yeah, I mean, and even Cap 4, and I think 3-star too, he responded to action, but he said, "I'd love to see them get a Fantastic Four movie right." Don't think it's gonna happen, and they're bringing in RDJ, obviously, and he's not gonna be Doctor Doom. He's playing a Doctor Doom, but he is not the Doctor Doom. I don't know how
oh, hey,
anybody
we don't know.
come on, man.
No, seriously. I mean, he's an alternate universe Doctor Doom.
It
You
would be
know,
goofy, Matthew. It'd be really goofy to do it considering the history he's had with the MCU. I think it'd be really weird to to bring him in and then go, no, but he's Doctor Doom, not Tony Stark. Like I don't know how you could pull that off, man. I really don't.
I I I don't think I don't think people will notice or care.
I think people do care. They care about RDJ. They care about those
No, no,
original
no,
Avengers. They
they
care about
they
those
do.
original Avengers. I'm right.
They do. All right, people do care about Chris Evans and Robert Downey Jr. I don't know about anybody else, but those two I
I
know
don't know
they
about
care
even
about.
Scarlett Johansson, but that's just because it's a her.
Well, yeah, yeah. I mean, she's great. I like her, but
I love
whatever.
Scarlett
Um,
Johansson.
yeah, she's awesome. But RDJ coming back, I think a lot of people will go see it just because it's RDJ, right? Because they like
Oh,
that fall
sure.
from grace, that redemption story that he's had, and
Absolutely.
and so people will appreciate that and want to go see it for that. So and that's some people will say, well, isn't he Iron Man? That's kind of confusing. But I think that a lot of people will be like, it's just a different movie. This is whatever.
Could be. Look, it depends on what they do with it. We'll
Yeah.
see. What they do with it is gonna make that difference for a lot of people. They're either gonna love it or they're gonna hate it. I don't think there's gonna be a lot of
Yeah.
middle ground.
Yeah,
Viper
there
Scout,
won't be
what's
much of
up?
that.
Viper Scout joins us. Looking forward to the Thunderbolts and Superman. Anticipating what they're gonna do with Spider-Man. Yeah, it depends. It depends on the writing. I'm very worried. I would love to see Spider-Man, the next Spider-Man movie, be more grounded, be more of a New York City, and it's more small scale. I do not want to see a huge
Yep.
world-ending
Nope.
scale type movie. I want it to be small
Well,
in scale and character driven. That's what
the
I would like to
the
see.
way they ended No Way Home, they made it so that okay, now he can actually become Spider-Man instead of Tony Stark Spider-Boy. And that
Right.
was my biggest criticism of Spider-Man in the MCU is it was never
Yeah.
Spider-Man.
Yeah.
But now we have all of the things that make him Spider-Man be Spider-Man. He's off on his own. He's all alone. He's got to deal with life and how things are moving. And you can kind of build him up from nothing again and tell that story.
Now
Which
he's mentioned Tom Holland has mentioned recently that he and Zendaya have been going through the scripts and they're not quite there yet. And once they get there, they'll be excited about it. My worry is I don't want Zendaya going through the scripts. She doesn't know him. She doesn't know him now. She's not supposed to know him. And so I don't want a story about her. I don't need to see half the movie about her
right,
working at a fucking coffee
coffee
shop.
shop. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And but yet
Yeah.
she's in it. So, they're going through the scripts together. So that tells
Yeah.
me already,
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
I agree with you. I don't think that either one of them should have much say in the scripts
I
because,
agree.
uh, um, I mean, again, they're actors, and I don't know how actually connected to the material that they are. So,
Yeah.
it,
Real quick, I
I
want
want
to.
a good Spider-Man story, but we have them with the Tobey Maguire movie, so I'm okay.
I'm with you, baby, all the way. Real quick, I want to run through a little bit of the chat.
Yeah.
Clint Jorgensen says, "Too bad they can't get X-Men going in movies." Yes, I'm with you. Don't get well-known actors to play the roles. Tell some great stories. I agree with you on that as well. Just get some young up-and-coming actors, good young up-and-coming actors. And yes, Menjoza, I agree 100%. Put Sydney Sweeney in a costume and let's make some money and eat popcorn. Yes, and I do love Sydney and the Sweeneys. I'm a big fan of that band. Huge fan of, and I'm a big fan of Scarlett Johansson. big,
Yeah.
big fan.
Okay.
Uh,
Okay. There we go.
there
Sticking with
we
those double
go.
entendres. All right.
Hey,
All right. All
hey,
right.
hey. Oh my gosh, there's just some great stuff in here. So real quick, I did want to highlight something, and this was about Disney. Former Disney executive explains Hollywood's collapse and puts blame on DEI initiatives funded by investment firms. This is former Walt Disney Television executive Monica Harris. Now, Monica Harris doesn't look like someone you would think would be blowing the whistle on DEI initiatives, do you? This is
Nope.
a little shocking to me. I mean, it really truthfully is. But that shows you that there are people who have probably been working in Hollywood for a really long time who have seen these things take over and creep in and start to take over some of the IPs and
Well,
properties that we love, comics that we
yeah.
love. Um,
I think a lot of people are realizing how much they're being pandered to. It's like this is not an
yes,
accurate representation, and it doesn't fit the storyline of the narrative. Or it doesn't fit here, right? I think more and more people are waking up to that fact that this is pandering. This isn't doing service to or paying homage to or even exemplifying any of these things. It's just
100%.
pandering.
Yes, you're not helping anybody, you're not
Yeah.
furthering a cause, you're not no, you are pandering, you're trying to win brownie points, you're trying to look cooler than you really are to people who don't give a crap. Um, and it's interesting because he says, I think the reason we see no course correction is the same reason we see target market items. I think we know which items I'm talking about at Target. We remember that story a while back at the
Yeah.
Target stores that clearly don't appeal to consumers. I think when you have like trans Cheerios and stuff like that, you're making a statement that has nothing to do with your audience and its tastes.
Mm-hmm.
She continues, what we've seen in the corporate world, and I'm going somewhere with this. What we've seen in the corporate world is this fastidious and slavish adherence to ESG, environmental social governance principles, which are really just DEI in practice, in products, and in hiring in the corporate world. Now, I'm not going to go through this whole article, but what I wanted to bring it up is because we can't deny that the quality of writing, the quality of filmmaking and directing, show running, video games, scripts in video games, character creation, it's all across the board. We've seen it take over our comic books. I mean, you can't deny it. And yet you see the comic book sales are in the toilet.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely in the toilet. Even some of the biggest superhero comics out there are in the toilet because it's taken over some of these properties.
But you can
We
always look at the independents and what they're doing, like Chuck Dixon and Matt Fraction and some of these other guys, like the
Kelly
Dracula book.
Jones.
Kelly Jones. Go check out Matt Wagner and Kelly Jones' Dracula book. Book 2 is coming out soon.
Yes. And
Next
but
year.
real but quickly, she goes on to say, so these corporations are pursuing these marketing tactics and sales tactics with products that are doomed to flop and do flop and that lower shareholder value, but they continue them nonetheless. And that's the part for me that I don't understand. Excuse me, and I'm not sure I will, is that how companies continue to lose money hand over fist and
Right. Yeah.
still continue this behavior And it's a pop culture thing. It is a, people, quote unquote, culture war, however you want to talk about it. And Liquid Identity, right here. I always think about Image Comics, what they were in the 90s and what they are now, 2010 plus.
Well, so you have to look to Skybound now. Skybound is what Image used to be. And essentially it is in Titan Comics. Titan Comics and Skybound are doing things right now that Image used to do, and that is give rights to the creators and allow them to make their properties and have retention of rights, but also allow them the freedom to make their own stories. And Titan Comics and Skybound Comics are doing great. Image Comics was absorbed by DC and is now beholden to the Warner methodology of making comic books. So they've been changed and altered by that whole system. So
Right.
you're right. That comic book company has failed because it was bought by a major corporation and then altered.
So real quick, and I want to read this quote because this is what she mentions about Hollywood. She then states, I think very much the same is true in Hollywood. DEI has swept through that place. The Academy Awards, the nominations are only available to films that hit certain quotas, right? You have to have a certain number of people who are Black or BIPOC, trans, non binary, whatever. It's totally the antithesis of what artistic work is about.
Yep.
But they have to do this because they have to please the people that are funding them. And it's the same companies that are doing the funding. And so it's really interesting because placing guidelines on artists, placing guidelines on companies, on artistic merit when you must adhere takes the artistic
Yes.
part out of it. And
Yeah.
it just becomes a list of things that you just have to mark off. I have this in my story. I have this in my story. I have this in my story.
Yeah. So
Paint my numbers.
when you're constrained by time and resources, that creates something new. You have to be very
Right.
creative to produce something with time and money restraints. When you have people telling you what you have to put in it is a different story. When you
Yeah.
have people telling you have to have this, this, and this in it, well, then that completely changes the artist's vision. And it is no longer the artist's vision. It is an amalgamation of corporate methodology.
Yeah, it just I found that article interesting because you
Yep.
actually have someone that's a former, Disney a Disney executive who's actually speaking out when that company has gone in lock, stock, and barrel
Yep.
in full on into it. So real quick, just kind of looking through the chat before we wrap it up with our top 5 horror movies. We won't have to go, dive deep into them. Most people have probably seen them. At least they've probably seen mine. But real quick, Clint Jorgensen says the private equity VC companies who are funding this stuff can actually afford these losses. That's a lot of it,
Yep.
as they can continue to fund. I did want to highlight this from Menjoza. Electric Company Spider-Man was better, and I responded, fighting the Yeti. I'll never forget that episode where the Yeti he goes around sitting down on cakes. I don't know if you remember that from the Electric Company, but there's a Yeti who goes around and puts his butt on cakes.
Yep.
And
I
Spider-Man
remember that.
Clint also says Academy Award winning movies don't get box office receipts. How many of these films up for Best Picture did you see before this year's awards show? And it's been that way for quite some time. It's definitely weighted that way now, but it has been for a while.
I'm a super nerd, so almost always I've seen probably 3 of the movies that
Right.
are up for Best Picture, if not all of them.
This is interesting. Liquid Identity 101 says, I still have 4 more DEI hour-long videos to meet my biannual quota at work. Has nothing to do with my job, but it's an indoctrination suffusing society now. Yeah, or suffusing society now. Yeah, I talk to people all the time at my job who get emails, they have to watch videos, and it has nothing to do with their job. It doesn't even have to do with any of the people they even deal with in their job. But they have to respond. And so yeah, it's interesting. Hopefully we're turning the tide on this stuff. Hopefully people are turning the tide on it. I think so. I think we're starting to see a change, and maybe companies will lose enough money and they'll decide maybe we need to do something different.
Yeah.
um and so hopefully so we can get back to just watching good ass superhero movies and good ass movies and have heroes journeys. That's what I like to watch. It's proven, it's tried and true, it's worked for many years, hundreds of years.
Yep.
Uh so uh so yeah, man. All right, so look, let's get into it. Halloween's a couple days away. I figured we just have a fun little exercise. Last week we kind of went over our, favorite, um, horror slash whatever type movies to get us in the mood for Halloween. Halloween
Yep.
movies, fun movies. And then tonight it's like, hey, let's go over maybe our favorite horror movies. So I said, just pick five. You know, pick five. I'm sure there's many more than that. The my looking at it, Matthew, was that, hey, maybe this is one that was kind of seminal for the
Yeah.
industry. Maybe it was one that affected me as a kid,
Hmm.
whatever that reason. So that's kind of how I looked about my list. I always try to come from a different angle and not just so straightforward. Um, you know, but definitely ones that I remember and that I saw at some points in my life. And so that's kind of how I came about mine. How about yourself? What?
I, I mean, similarly, I did the same thing. Todd, see, I just want to say I carved pumpkins right before dinner tonight.
I miss doing that, man. Me and my son did that, obviously for several years, and I do miss doing that. We haven't done one in a while, but when they
Yep.
get to be 16, 7,
Yeah,
or
it's not something
so, it's
you're gonna
like, "You
do.
wanna carve a pumpkin?" It's like,
Mm,
"Not
nah,
really."
not really.
Uh,
So,
j
yeah, I picked movies that I thought were very effective to me. There's a lot more that were like, I'm gonna have some honorable mentions here. I've got two honorable mentions with me
Sure.
right now, but I'm just gonna
Me
throw this
too.
out there as a third honorable mention as the Prophecy. The very first Prophecy movie was
Okay.
just a really interesting movie about demons and angels and a deconstruction of that whole kind of concept. And Christopher Walken was in it as Gabriel, and
Yes, yes.
I mean, there's six movies, by the way. There's six Prophecy movies. The first one's the only good one. I will tell you that I've seen all six of them. Um,
I'm
but
sorry.
but the first one I've got a special place for. But I'll get to my honorable mentions and stuff as we go. Joe Fan 84, how you doing,
Yes.
bud? Glad to
Yep,
see you. We were highlighting that comment, just saying, hey, welcome. Glad you're here. I hope you
absolutely.
enjoy the topic now that we're finally here.
Yep, right. We're finally here, rounded third base, rounding the home stretch. All right. So these are not. I don't even know if they're necessarily in a particular order because it's hard for me to order things. It really
Yes.
is. I kind of
No,
group
yeah, I
them and I
get it.
say I love these. I love them
Yep.
all the same in a way.
Right.
Um, this one. Some may or may not consider this um a horror movie, but Evil Dead 2 for me.
Dude, that's amazing choice.
That
Amazing
that one,
choice.
when I saw that too, when I was younger, it probably was soon after it came out, and Evil Dead 2 is a little bit of a remix of 1,
Yes,
but
absolutely. No, he had more budget and he could tell the story the way he wanted to. It was a sequel, yet it was a reboot. I thought, oh man, that movie's so
and
awesome.
there's
I love
just
that one.
and that's one of those ones that has, like, the certain memorable scenes, like the with the tree and the branches
Mhm,
with the girl, you know what I mean?
mhm.
Or
Yeah.
yeah, the witch or the creature and them, like, uh, keeping the trap door, trying to keep it, like, down below. You
Mhm.
get Ash and obviously how he ends up with the chainsaw.
Yep,
Just different things, and even the beginning of the movie, the way that it moves across the forest floor, right? The camera, how it pans all the way up to the
love it.
house.
Yep,
And so there's just a lot of memorable things in that for me, and at the same time, it also does have some comedic bits. It's kind of goofy, you
yep.
know, but but very effective for me, and definitely one that I always remembered. And I remember when I was, probably 12, 13, somewhere in there, seeing it,
Yeah.
I think on like HBO or something like that. And so yeah, man, that was as a banger.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I love that one. Campbell doing his own stunts, Francis
Yep.
Brady. Love it. I got to throw these up here real quick as honorable mentions before I get to my number 5 here. Okay. Pitch Black. Okay.
Oh yes,
Uh,
love it.
this is kind of an
Woo!
underrated sci-fi horror movie, and it really brings into the anti-hero. Okay, this is. I mean, I understood anti-hero, but this is where it was really solidified in my head what an anti-hero is, right? And the he lives by the code. He's got a code. He's going to do his own thing and live his own life. But he goes through the whole thing and he saves people. But if you go back on your word or if you betray him, he's like, "Fuck you, you're dead," and and he lets those people die. And he purposely lets people die because of their own decisions. He says, "I'm not going to help you. I told you what's going to happen. I've told you what I'm going to do." He's honest with everybody. He doesn't
Yes,
lie to anyone in this movie, right? And he makes it
he's
known
such a
who he
badass.
is. And he's such a badass in that movie.
I
And
know.
I mean, the sequels, whatever. I enjoy them for what they are, but honestly, Pitch Black is
They're
one of those
chronicles.
creature features that has a lot of psychology to it that people are misplacing, right?
Yeah,
And
baby.
this one was so close to making my top 5. I can't take it out of what my top 5 is, but I'm going to put it up here and say The Lighthouse. Okay, this has
Oh gosh.
some of the best acting I've seen in a movie in so long, and it's all in black and white. And
Funky, dude.
it is a psychological horror film of Cthulhu proportions in every way because it's a lighthouse. It's got the sea involved with it. It's got these characters, and one's trying to replace the other. Because you spend so much time at this lighthouse alone, and how it warps your mind. How the psychology of being alone can change everything that you are. And I mean, the acting in this is so good. It is a two-person play, for lack of a better term. It's such a good film, and yeah, Lovecraftian as hell. Exactly.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
that's
definitely.
and I have this passion for Lovecraft stuff. I fell in love with Lovecraft stuff in my early 20s, actually. But funny because he wrote it in the 1920s. Anyway, but his relationship with Robert E. Howard drew me to Conan and how Conan incorporated. Anyway, there's a whole big long thing with me and Cthulhu stuff. I dig that. But my number 5 on my list, top horror movies, done it,
You
done
dude,
it,
I
done it,
was
done it.
so freaking close, bro.
I
I
know.
it's one of my favorite movies of all time,
Yes,
period, of genre.
absolutely. And all. I mean, this thing has it all, and
Yes.
it scared Kevin Smith out of ever going in water ever in his entire life. Right? People are afraid of pools. People are afraid of the ocean. They're afraid of just going out there because of this freaking movie poster and these guys here on the back. I mean, this cast of characters right here and the careers that they had afterwards, absolutely phenomenal.
Yep.
Uh, this movie is one of the scariest things that has messed people up for life.
So that's okay. So right, that's right. Looking at it from that lens, that's how I looked at a couple of mine. Yes,
Yep.
that's 100%, man. Yeah, dude. That I was so close. I was so close to having it. So close to having it on my list. And I remember having we had the paperback. It came out the year I
Mm-hmm.
was born. We had the paperback, in the downstairs forever. It's probably still down there. It's probably still down there, um, and I remember thumbing through it, right? I know the guy who wrote the book was not happy with the movie,
Yeah.
whatever. The movie is by far better than the book. It's one of those
Oh yeah, from
instances
what
where
I've
it
read as
far
well.
surpasses, right?
And
Um
Menjoza wanted to comment on that. Resurrected was one of the best Lovecraft movies you've ever seen. You know what? I need to go rewatch that, but we'll see what you have to say after the finishing of my collection here.
So Chris Jarvis will be probably happy with my next pick because you guys might know where this is from.
Ah, yeah, love it.
Yeah,
I
man.
love that NECA's making all those figures, and they're disgusting, and
Yes,
they are amazing, and I wish I could get all of them. But yeah, no, man,
yes,
John Carpenter's The Thing is a thing to behold,
yeah.
right? And it's a remake of Thing from Another World,
That's right.
and but it's done so much better, and the Cthulhu themes are amazing. Go ahead,
And
go ahead.
yes, and but the psychological horror, right? The isolation, right? Then you have the part of it where you don't know because it can take on the form of someone who looks just like you. It
Yep,
could be you.
yep.
When you have to do the testing on everybody, right? To determine, do you have fillings? Like it's just it's the first time I saw it is really for me probably I guess the Star Wars movies were when I fell in love with your effects, so to speak, your practical effects, I guess. But this was probably one of the first movies I saw that just really uh surpassed e- even the Star Wars stuff to me,
Yep.
especially in its usage, right? Like
Yep.
and how they used it. Yes, there's certain things you go back and watch it now, again, that's why I say that sometimes things are from a time period. You can go back and
Mhm.
watch it and kind of go, sometimes they're a little goofy, but yeah, no, this movie and Kurt Russell, obviously fantastic. I
Kills
mean,
it.
yeah, man,
Yep.
but I love this movie and it's one of those ones too, if you don't own it, like you gotta rent it. Like it's
Yep.
hard to find, it's hard to dig up. I don't think it's on streaming services. It's one of those ones, there's some of those movies out there that you can't just it's like tonight somebody says, "Oh, hell yeah, I want to go watch The Thing." Good luck. You're gonna have to pay
Yeah.
$3.99, or something. At least the last time I looked trying to find it, it wasn't on any service that I had. So, but yeah, so
Yep. Absolutely.
The Thing is on my list. Like I said, in my top five. I do have an honorable mention. I'll mention one of those here in a
Yeah.
minute.
Okay.
But yeah, so yeah, The Thing, love it. Let
All
me
right.
back out of this. How
Number
about yourself?
four. Number
Number
four.
4.
Number four. Okay, this is quite frankly the
Mm,
best adaptation of an H.P. Lovecraft story that's ever been put on film, in my opinion. This is the perfect adaptation of Color Out of Space. And they spelled color the American way, even though Lovecraft spelled it the English way with the U. But you got Nick Cage in here, and a meteorite falls to the planet and creates this strange glow, and so people start changing. It's a whole psychological thing. This is phenomenal. It was supposed to be the beginning of a trilogy, but the director got canceled because of Me Too stuff that turned out to be false, but it didn't matter. He was already canceled, so all the projects
right.
were removed from him. And so he was going to make the Dunwich Horror and then Call of Cthulhu. Those were the three movies that he was going to make. And if you know Cthulhu mythology and the way he did with this one, he would have freaking killed it, because this is my number four.
So I am not familiar. I'm not familiar with that movie. I'm
No,
actually not.
it came out. It came out in 2022, I think.
Okay.
Um, yeah, but it was supposed to be a whole thing. Um, and you know, Fangoria wrote it up, Screen Anarchy, a whole bunch of people wrote it up as just quite frankly one of the best. And it's psychological horror, and I appreciate psychological horror better than blood and guts horror. That's just the
Oh
way
yeah,
I
no,
am.
100%. I'm with you 100%. I agree. I am.
I mean, I love
I
things
am.
like The Fly, but the body transformation stuff and everything like that. Jeff Goldblum in The Fly is phenomenal and could have been on my list at any given point in time. But I've been stuck on Cthulhu stuff for a while. So my next
Love it.
3 movies are all Cthulhu based movies. So
That's cool. Well, my next movie is also in the chat, and I think Joe Fan 84 is going to be happy. Anybody recognize this shot?
oh yeah, there it
Alien.
is.
Alien 1979. I remember showing this to my son, and I think he was kind of bored by it. Now he enjoyed it, but I think he was expecting like more than the psychological thriller part of this, right? The being alone, being hunted, um, and and I just this movie for me, and I hate what they've done with the franchise. But number one, I love seeing Sigourney Weaver in her panties and a and a little tank top.
Yeah,
um,
you see that at the right age, and
yeah,
you just have a crush on
yeah,
Sigourney Weaver forever. If you
yes,
saw that at the proper time frame, and I have always had this crush on her because I love
yes,
every movie that she's been in. I mean, Galaxy Quest and Ghostbusters. I had a huge thing for her because I'm like, I saw her in her panties.
yes, yes, dude. No, no freaking joke. But this movie, it is it's perfectly paced. And what I love about it is that because I love the second one as well, but that's what I love about it. They're two completely different movies,
They're different.
and
The
this
second
one's
one's an
not.
action movie.
Yes, exactly. And this one is not. This is suspense thriller.
Yep.
Again, being picked off one by one. Um,
Yep.
I just to me, I look a horror movie, and everybody kind of has their different ideas. You might think it's killer clowns from outer space. You might think it's critters, right? You might think it's Fright Night or something. You might
Yep.
think, and so I think a lot of people have kind of have a different idea. And my idea of what makes a good horror movie is definitely different, obviously, that you can see already. Is that it doesn't necessarily have to involve those things. Now, there is one in particular on my list that probably falls into that. But yeah, no, I love this movie. Even watching it now, dude, like, yes, I know it forwards and backwards, but as a kid, man, anytime I could get a chance to watch this on like
Yep.
VHS or on HBO, yeah, it's
You
white
know, it,
knuckle, seat of your pants,
and
for
and
sure.
and I can't think of 2 movies that are so different that are
Oh my
sequels
gosh.
that both of them are perfect.
Yes. 100%.
Alien and Aliens are perfect, and I will
Yes.
say, Alien may have just a pacing problem, whereas Aliens does not have a pacing problem, and so that may be the difference in the 2, why people like Aliens more, is because it is so streamlined and cut
You're
to
right.
perfection that Indiana Jones and Aliens are what I consider to be perfect, or sorry, Raiders of the Lost Ark and Aliens are perfect movies. Alien, I love to death, and it is a wonderful horror movie, and I love it. But I think that there are a couple of 1970s era pacing issues that don't meet up with where today is.
I can understand that.
But yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
um,
But yeah, no, I love that one.
I do agree though. I think that the second one definitely and Raiders, they are two perfectly paced movies and they're brisk and
Yep.
yeah, I'm with you. All right, fire up
All
your
right,
next one, my man.
number
Number 3.
three. John Carpenter's In the Mouth of
Woo!
Madness.
Dude, I remember when that came out. Holy crap, man.
I mean, talk about freaky, mind messing
Yes.
horror.
Yes.
Again, Cthulhu, right?
Yep.
John Carpenter did a bunch of Cthulhu themed stuff. He had a Cthulhu trilogy. I didn't care for the other one as much, but this one, man, I freaking love this movie. Sam Neill is freaking bonkers in this.
Yeah.
And it is so good. And it is so Cthulhu, and it matches that. John Carpenter was obviously a fan of Cthulhu with what he did with all of his stuff. Joe Fan 84. You haven't heard of In the Mouth of Madness? Somebody
Wow.
else mentioned it earlier. Joe Mendoza mentioned it earlier. So I mean, I've got some backing on that one. That was a '90s one. Man, it is so
Yeah,
good.
mid 90s, I think, right? 94, 95, somewhere in there, I think.
Okay. So Joe Fan 84 is asking, what is Cthulhu? You spelled it Cthulhu.
Oh,
Um,
Cthulhu.
so,
Okay, go
so,
ahead because you are the
so
expert.
yeah, well, not the expert by any means. I haven't
Well,
read books on it, but I'm a huge fan. Okay. So there's this author in the 1920s named Howard P. Lovecraft, and he created this whole universe of mythological psychological horror, and Cthulhu was the base theme of it. Cthulhu is an interdimensional being, um, and if you see him, if you see a depiction of him, it will fry your mind into madness. He creates madness wherever he goes, and he is just on the edge of our reality, poking in at every opportunity. And he's a sea creature. He's a sea creature that is, octopi like or squid like. So he's generally depicted. Well, I know. Something like this. Okay.
yeah,
You know,
yeah, 100%. Yeah.
I mean, this would be a Cthulhu follower right there. And that little dude glows in the dark and all that. He's pretty awesome. But he's got squid like features, and he creates these cultists that worship him and want to bring the end of the universe, the end of the world, because when he comes in, he will destroy everything in his path. And he brings madness wherever he goes. Just the stories about stopping Cthulhu from coming are crazy, phenomenal, and there's a whole line of stuff. Howard Lovecraft and Robert E. Howard actually collaborated in writings on a bunch of stuff. So Conan the Barbarian has a lot of Cthulhu themes, and Conan the Destroyer has actually some more Cthulhu themes than the first one did, because the first Conan movie was more based on Kull the Conqueror, which is another Howard Robert E. Howard story, right? But anyway, Robert E. Howard was a genius and created his own multiverse of characters throughout time also. But Conan has a lot of Cthulhu elements in it as well that he pulled from Lovecraft, and they shared that. And so, again, it's psychological horror. It's things that can be interpreted differently, looking at it from a different perspective. But there's a lot of magic or interdimensional species things, and Lovecraft was writing this in the 1920s.
Yeah, it's actually some really, cool stuff to look up, and like
Yeah.
Liquid Identity says, like cosmic horror, the
Yes.
unimaginable to the human mind. It's
Right.
really interesting to actually delve into, man. There's some cool, if you're a video gamer, then there's some actual cool video games that you can look up that are super cool Cthulhu type games that deal with that and have interesting game mechanics around that. Obviously, movie wise, but even just book wise, man, imagery, especially the
Yes.
imagery, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Now, some people will tell you that Lovecraft was a racist or whatever, and maybe, I don't know. We weren't there. It was a different time. People had different perceptions. Lovecraft feared the unknown, and he feared the
Yeah.
unknown so much that these ideas sprung from his head about what the unknown was. And the unknown was Cthulhu to him, and he feared it. And so that's what he wrote about. And honestly, that's what it comes down to. It's the fear of the unknown, what it actually means in the cosmic universe. So, there's a lot to
Yeah.
it, and I find it fascinating, and I find it's fascinating that Robert E. Howard and Howard P. Lovecraft work together on some of these things. It's really
Yeah,
fascinating to
it
me.
it it is. There's some really neat stuff. I from the video
Yeah,
game
Event
part
Horizon.
of
I
it.
love Event Horizon.
Oh, yeah, 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 for sure. I know that it was a flop at the movies, but I actually really enjoy that movie.
I do too, but it does have its
It's
editing and
got
pacing
issues.
errors, and
And it
it
also
wasn't a
got
finished.
chopped to hell. It got chopped
Yeah,
to hell. It
it.
got edited, you know,
Yep.
it would have been like an X rating had
Yes.
it come out at the theater,
Right. It
and
was
so they
not a
had to
finished
chop
movie.
it up. Right, you know?
Yeah.
So, you know, that's a shame. Alright, so I'm gonna
Mhm.
present a screen, classic. I mentioned it last week. This one shaped me because, I was never able to, you know, go downstairs in the dark. I was always looking around corners. I was always seeing something in the mirror. And that is Halloween 1978. Um,
Jamie
not
Lee
a drop,
Curtis, baby.
not a drop of blood
Yep.
in the movie. It's but for me, this was the movie that started me looking around corners, over the shoulder, walking home from school and thinking someone is behind the shrubs. You seeing you know what I mean, like that, seeing something, someone's watching you. That's what this film gave to me,
Oh yeah.
um,
The
and it's
timing,
still,
the music, the framing, how they shot the shots, and then all of a sudden, boom, a
yeah.
flash of light, and then he's there. The jump scares that they put in this movie created all jump scares after that,
Yeah,
right? I mean,
that's what I mean, right?
yeah,
This created
yeah,
a way of modern movie making when it comes to suspense, thriller, and horror,
absolutely. Yep.
and just the mask, which is a William Shatner mask. For those that don't
Inverted.
know, inverted William Shatner mask is what the shape mask is, what he's called,
Yep.
the shape. Um, but yeah, this one for me, man, and I am not kidding. It is literally the um thinking something is there,
Mhm.
looking like, you know, even in the dark with a little bit of light, and you walk by and you see that shadow, like
Yep.
something flash in the window, but it happens to be a
Oh, yeah.
light, but you think someone's outside the window.
That's
That
it.
shit, that dude, straight from this movie, like
Well,
that.
and then the pianos, man, you cannot hear that doo 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 that piano score that
Oh
they put
yeah,
in
the
this
boom.
movie and
Yes,
not get chills up your spine. You can't
yeah.
do it. You just can't. I mean, it's there. It's ingrained
Well, and
in
it
our
not
soul.
only in the theme, but it's similar to Jaws. Now, John Carpenter did the music for it,
Yes.
but he also has this, it like Jaws, where John Williams did the score, and it's deep bass notes on the piano. You have the classic Halloween theme, but then during the movie, it also has this dun 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 dun,
Yep.
and it plays that, and you just get that for like a minute straight, and it's
Yep.
super cool. And very, I love the keyboard synth stuff John Carpenter was known
Yes.
for, and his, it has these really weird, like, high notes and shit.
Yep.
But anyway, so that one for me, I could say number 3 if I want to, or whatever, but that one for me definitely
Yep.
is on my top 5 for sure, man.
Awesome. Yeah. I actually did rank mine as I'm presenting them. So are we
That's
on to my
great.
number two?
Yep.
My number two has already been mentioned. The Thing.
Yeah.
My number
Love it.
two, again, Cthulhu horror, baby. I mean, this is the unknown. This is that body transformation. Who done it? Who's the villain? It could be changing. It could be any one of us. It could be me, and I don't even know it. Right? I mean,
Right?
there's so many things in here that are freaking fantastic in terms of horror and what it means. And I actually do kind of like the 2011 prequel story type of thing that they were telling. It's a little weird, clunky, but it kind of fits in with the Norwegian team that ends up being the helicopter chasing the wolf down at the beginning of this movie, right?
Yeah.
But uh, this is taken from Campbell's novel "Who Goes There," a short story, I should say, which was later made into a full novel. And I've had that novel, and I've read that novel, and I love that novel as well. And it is the basis for this. Um, there was another title, and I forget the published title that it was before "Who Goes There" was made, but that storyline, that alien comes down and there's and it can mimic any of us. Okay, well, who is it? What is it? What does it want? And all of these things are the unknown, right? And that's why it's Cthulhu. That's why it's like color out of space. What's going on? How are we being changed?
Yeah. Yeah. Again, just to add to it,
Yeah.
I love the not knowing that the person that you're sitting and talking to or that's across or you don't have any clue, right? Could be
Yep.
you, you don't know. I'm telling you, man, like that kind of horror to me is more psychological than someone running after you, a clown or something, you know what I mean? Like I love that
And just imagine,
the whole idea of
I
it.
mean, you've got Keith David, and oh gosh, I just forgot his name. Um,
You got the
uh,
DVD?
but yeah.
So you look on the back of it, right?
What is his name?
You talking about the,
Kurt Russell.
yeah.
Kurt
Oh,
Russell
oh, I thought
and
you were talking
Keith
about one of the
David.
other
No,
supporting
no, no, no,
actors.
no. Kurt Russell and Keith David. And this is where my love of Keith David actually started, right? And probably my love of Kurt Russell, because both of those guys, I love just about everything that they're in. And I can't get enough of the stuff that they're doing in there. And you've got some other character actors that are in this movie that you see in all kinds of stuff, from Hot Shots and other things. You got Lloyd and stuff like that. But uh, you know, from the very beginning of the movie, the guy's playing chess master whatever, and he's playing chess master on the computer, and the computer wins, and so he pours his freaking Jim Beam whiskey all over the computer, saying "fuck you," just to
Yeah,
burn out the computer because
yeah.
he's sick and tired of losing to the damn computer. Right. And that's how the whole thing starts. And this is the guy that's got to figure it out in the end. And in the end, you don't know if he isn't the alien, right? Who got burned? Did he flame the right people? Is the alien actually still alive and going to leave this place and go back into the world? And what's he going to do in the world? Or is he actually human and he eliminated all of the aliens by flaming them? Right? You don't know.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, and Mendoza, you talk about Palmer, every line was gold. I think, the one
Yes.
most people remember is, "You gotta be fucking kidding." That's when the little
Damn
thing
right.
grows legs, the head grows
Yeah.
legs and doesn't walk away. I can see that right now. That's one in particular that
What the
I
fuck?
um, yeah, man, nah, great movie. I mean, come on
Yep.
with it. It's
Escape from
good
New
stuff.
York was awesome.
Yeah,
Escape from
those are
LA,
good.
not so
Yeah.
much, but
No,
okay.
LA, not so much. Okay, so let me get to my top of the heap here. Um, hang on, come on.
Yes, great character writing, Mendoza.
Uh,
Absolutely agree. And that's what I love. I love
yes.
characters and I love psychological horror. And those two things are in the thing in perpetuity. I mean, it's just amazing what they brought to the table there.
So I have an honorable mention. I'm not gonna spend a lot of time on it, but The Fly, with
Yeah,
Jeff
yeah, I mentioned that
Goldblum.
earlier. See, it
Yeah,
almost made my honorable
yeah,
mention list. The
yeah,
Fly is
the
amazing. The
The
Jeff
Fly.
Goldblum one, or
Mhm,
which one?
yep, yeah, Jeff Goldblum, Gina
Okay, yeah,
Davis.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
that movie, and I remember seeing that as a kid, and it's just gross.
It
It's
is
just
gross, and
body horror,
yep.
just gross, but it's he plays that character so well, and it's just
Help me,
oh my
help
god,
me.
it's just awful, and then the
Yes,
dog, the poor dog, and,
yep,
yeah, it's, just watching a person come unraveled, right? And
yes,
but again, the body horror aspect and the effects that were, really amazing. I can't imagine the makeup chair that he had to spend,
yeah.
hours in every day shooting that movie, but,
I
that was
mean, it was
one yeah.
definitely formational, but
Yes.
it didn't make my list because it's not something I go back and rewatch all the time.
No, 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 and me as well, it's really not, and so, let me get to it. Where's that? Damn it. I've got them all saved here. Um, so I guess it's one for me that I saw in the movie theater with my sister. And I could understand why a lot of people may not have this on their list, but I think that this movie um reinvigorated the horror um industry again, and it's Saw.
Oh yeah.
Um so in 2004, I thought horror had been played out by Scream, stuff like that. I Know What You Did Last Summer, movies like that. And I went to see this movie with my sister, and it plays on it just plays on the worst like type of fears. The escape room,
Mhm.
the in a trap, solving a puzzle to save your own life or someone else's, or you know what I mean? Like all the things that I think of when you think of what anything you would not want to have to do. There's no
Yeah.
situation in that movie that you would want to find yourself in. Cut your own leg off to escape. You know
Right.
what I mean? Like those are just the decisions that are made. I think the ending for me is a bit of a letdown in the movie,
Mhm.
but I love the choices that are presented in that movie, and I do really feel like it did kind of reinvigorate the genre and give it something different.
Mhm.
Um, and I know it's not like the probably top of the list. I'm not saying again, I didn't give an order per se on mine, but it is one that when I went to see it with my sister created a lot of conversation. And
Yeah.
even to this day, it comes up. It's a pop culture phenomenon, almost like
Absolutely.
Blair Witch in a way.
Yep.
And so yeah, so I picked Saw. I just feel like it's a scenario movie, and every one of those scenarios, and obviously they've expanded on it tremendously.
Yeah.
Although I don't think the movies are any better per se,
Right.
but but yeah, for me, I think it is really funky, and
Yeah, I've got a bunch of friends who love that whole series of movies, and I understand that the psychological side of things and the play on, hey, you've got to make a decision here, yes or no, or that kind of thing. I understand why people like it. Just wasn't my taste per se, but
just the first one for me. I could care about any of the other ones, but
yeah,
I thought the idea of it, and I thought that it kind of brought something different to the table, um, for that genre, because I do feel like in the early 2000s it had been kind of played out a bit
yeah.
and needed a boost.
Well, do
Um
you think that Terrifier is the new version of that
It's
reinvigoration?
very very possible. I
Yeah,
think some people are tired of the Blumhouse, the,
yeah,
A24s and and those I mean, yes, Insidious and, the universe created from what's the doll, the creepy doll, I even went to go see a couple of those movies at the theater. But nonetheless, yeah, I think some of that stuff's gotten played out. I think
yeah.
Terrifier might be something that kind of rejuvenates,
Nice.
and then we see some copycats, so
Yeah, 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 for
good.
sure. Cool. Awesome.
Alright, what you got, man?
All right, my number one is a documentary. No, I'm sorry, that's not true. No, no,
I
just kidding.
God,
Just
if it
kidding.
was, I
Just
was just
kidding.
oh, I was gonna love it. It is a horror movie that is
I mean,
somewhat
it's a
coming
freaking
true.
documentary, man. I
Yeah,
mean, at this
holy
point,
crap.
I've got a can of Brondo in my office that a friend of mine picked up an entire case of Brondo that was from the set of that movie, and she gave a bunch of us a can of Brondo, so I'd have that. And man, I love that movie. That movie is so funny, but it is poignant at this point in time because we're living in that world.
Yeah,
President Camacho's coming, baby.
you ain't kidding. Well,
Yeah, I mean, The Exorcist is a great one, but my number one is
there you
Alien.
go, baby. Hell
This
yeah.
this one affected me more than any other. I mean, we already talked about it a little bit,
Yeah.
but you know, this hit me at a time. Obviously, I was born just a couple years before that, but at the same time, I couldn't see it when it came out, obviously. But at the same time, this movie was one of those that even in the edited versions that I could see on television before I saw the full version or whatever, is one of those movies that is just so impactful. It's like, what decisions could we have made that would have been better? And yes, there are a lot of decisions that were made that were defied by Sigourney Weaver's character, because they defied what she wanted to do in the very beginning, that would have saved everybody and caused the whole incident to happen. And for her to survive it, I'm like, great. And you got the cat, and you've got the jump scares, you've got the body horror, the chest burster, and how all that came together. The cast that they brought together was phenomenal.
Oh,
The
it's
acting
amazing cast.
choices, the acting choices that they made in their progressions through there were phenomenal. I mean, Yaphet Kotto and his, hey, what the fuck about us? I mean, we're the grunts of this thing. What about our pay? And it's like, okay, well, you can do this or you can not get paid. I mean, that's your choice. And he's like, well, okay, all right, let's go do it. And then you got Ash, the robot that's the company man that you don't know is a robot. You've got the chest burster scene, that which is a surprise to everyone, because they didn't tell anyone what was going to happen in
Yes,
that scene. And so
that's
that reaction
amazing.
is real,
Yeah,
right?
that's
She's like, "Oh my
amazing.
god," and freaking out because she didn't know that all that was going to happen.
Yeah.
The guy who played Dallas, I forget names at the
Oh,
moment,
Tom
but
Skerritt.
Tom Skerritt, yeah. I
Mhm.
mean,
Oh,
Tom
yeah.
Skerritt was killing it. He was the captain, but he was just so laid back. He's like, dude, we're on a freaking mining mission. I mean, this isn't part of our thing. What's going on here?
I think what's so awesome about it too is, like, they show you and they show the crew and the progression, the relationships, right? They kinda they I appreciate that part, because for a decent part of it, it's just like here's a crew going out, right? You don't know anything, right? You don't know anything at all. Um, but they show them, kind of bonding and cutting up, right, with
Yeah,
each other. Um, Ian Holm, as
love it.
Ash. I mean, yeah, John Hurt. I mean, you got dude, yeah, it's a
It's an
hell of a
all-star
cast.
cast, all-star cast. And the Spaceball spoof was fantastic.
Oh, that's
I
one of my
I
favorite things.
I
I've
I
sung that
love it.
for years,
I
for
love
years.
it. And somebody just recently said, yeah, their kid had seen Spaceballs and then they saw Alien, and they're like, yeah, but the alien didn't do a song and dance, so I like the
Yeah.
Spaceball version better. Hello my honey, hello my baby, hello my
Hello, my
ragtime
ragtime
gal.
gal.
I mean, it was so brilliant because they brought William Hurt back, and they got dupes of all the cast members to
Yes.
come on there. And he says, "Oh no, not
Not
again."
again. What is
I
the
mean,
dude what's the one black guy say? What does he say? He says,
oh shit, give this
"Oh,
man some Pepto Bismol.
yes, give this man some Pepto-Bismol." Oh, God. Yeah, one of my favorite things to remember, yeah, for sure. I mean, I love Spaceballs anyway, but
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 I
it's so
mean, and
funny.
and then the movie ends on Sigourney Weaver in her panties, and then
Yep.
having to suit up and deal with an alien in her panties, and then a spacesuit, and eject the freaking thing
Yeah.
out the airlock, and then snuggle down with her kitty cat and wait to be rescued on her way home. After
Yeah,
she
man.
blows the shit out of everything. It was nuked. It was vaporized. There was nothing left. So Romulus is a flaw. You can't have Romulus with what happened at the end of Alien. I'm just saying, you can't.
Yes, and I have not seen Romulus, and I know some people are
Uh,
kinda thinking Romulus is, like, one of their favorite horror movies.
yeah,
But,
no, I mean,
I
it's
need
such
to
a
I need to see it.
rehash.
Yeah, I
You
know.
do. You do need to see it, and you need to judge for yourself. But for the
Yeah,
most part, I'm gonna say that I mean, it's troped, it's ripped off, and it
right.
doesn't make sense. None of it makes any sense.
Well,
Even the
that's pretty
workers,
much
the
that's
workers
part.
should have revolted against the corporation for doing what they did. And I mean, seriously, there should have been riots and there should have been turmoil on that whole planet because of what the corporation did. It shouldn't have
Yeah.
happened.
Yeah, and for everything I understand about it, it's like, how could you keep these people down? There's not, it's they would revolt, Yeah, that's the line.
Yeah.
Water my ass, get
That's
this
it.
man some
Man, some
Pepto-Bismol.
Pepto-Bismol. Yeah.
Holy moly. All right. All right. Well, um, you know, near Halloween, bring up a few of our favorites. Like I said, for me, it's hard. It's hard for me to make lists. I mean, even if
Yep.
I try to make up my favorite GI Joe list or my favorite whatever list, it's yes, there's one or two. Yes, I can say this is one, this is two. But after that, it's really difficult for me. And so it's like, okay, well, let me just throw them all in there and then I'll just pick a few of them. But there's so many more. I mean, we literally could sit here for the next hour and just go one by one. You could pull up your top
Yep.
50 on the internet and go down them and go, yep, that's great. That's great. Nah, not so much. So yeah, man. And I know obviously, at least in the chat, for the most part, most people either agreed, uh,
Hey, you
you
know what?
know,
I saw a
well, I
lot of
mean,
Aliens, In the Mouth
lot
of
of aliens.
Madness,
Yep,
The
yep,
Thing as their favorites, and since those
yep.
were on our lists, I mean, hey, all right, you're in the right place.
That's what I'm saying, actually, yeah, because a couple of mine, 2 or 3 of mine got called for sure.
Yep.
But, yeah, man, Matthew, that's about all I got for tonight. I know it's getting on, half
Yep.
hour at
Yep.
the
Yep.
bottom of the hour, so it's about time for us to call it a night. I want to thank everybody, obviously, in the chat, everybody for hanging out with us, man. Really appreciate it every week. I'll tell you, it's much more fun to have y'all in there and participating and giving us a chance to highlight and go back and forth. And we'll be back again next Tuesday, 100% ready to go and have some new topics,
If you're not
hopefully. And
watching, you're missing out. Go watch The Penguin. The Penguin is
yes,
awesome. If you haven't
yes,
seen Tulsa King,
yes.
go catch up on season 2. And the Cobra Kai is coming
Cobra
back
Kai.
soon. So
Yep,
get
Cobra
ready
Kai.
for the
But
second part of the final season.
definitely, at the very least, catch up on Penguin. It is interesting. It is
And
fun, man.
if you do like superhero stuff, you've got the Penguin, but you also have Superman and Lois. And Superman and Lois, in my opinion, has been very good Superman with a family television watching experience.
That's what
And
I've heard.
this final season, I've watched the first episode and half of the last season, has been really good. I would highly recommend that you check that out. Lex Luthor is very different than what he is in the comic books. He's more of a biker guy kind of guy when they introduce him, but they tease him early on, and you think that's going to be Lex Luthor, but it's not. So don't worry about that because there's no race change on Lex Luthor.
Yeah, I've heard good things about that show.
Yeah,
Actually, I need to check it out.
yeah.
Definitely. Well, sweet man. Tell everybody obviously where they can find you on Instagram. Go ahead and get that out.
Instagram at Memories Action Figure Blog. I post stuff every single day, so go and check it out. For the last month and a half, I've been doing horror themed stuff. So there's been a monster themed thing in every single one of my photos. Dracula to werewolves, lots of werewolves. I got lots of werewolves. I have a whole collection of werewolves. So there's plenty of werewolves in there for you. If you like werewolves, check it out. But I've been doing collabs as normal and incorporating the monster theme into those collabs. So check that out if you like that kind of stuff. Savage Crucibles on Saturday with Snake Eyes and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, please check that stuff out. I appreciate you. Frank, thanks for coming by. Thanks for hanging out.
Yep.
If you didn't catch the beginning, go check out our costumes. I thought they were pretty good. And then our conversation was great. So
yeah, man, check it out. Hit the like button. Definitely always helps the stream. I really appreciate it every week. And tell a buddy, bring a friend, whatever. If you like what you heard. And again, like I said, it's always fun. We're gonna finish it up, man. Thanks for hanging out. We'll see you guys next week. For Matthew Matson, I am Pop Blender, and we're gonna head out, y'all. See ya later.